All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Facts on the Ground. I'm Jesse Zerwell and joined by my co host, Misty Winston.
Hi,
And
guys.
this is our Saturday night special. And we're very pleased to have with us the one and only Jesse Jett. His new
Woo!
record, The Coming of Spring, was released this week. And tonight he's going to play through the whole record for us. And it's going to be, I
Awesome.
anticipate, a pretty damn good time. So, Jesse, thank you for joining us
Oh
again.
my God, are you kidding? Thank you guys. Seriously, I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Can I just
Absolutely.
I
brag for
mean,
a second? Rockfin is
hit me.
working.
Where's your mask? Put your mask on.
Where's my meme? I gotta find that meme that Sleepy Josh always sends me. You guys, I did a tech thing.
I'm
Sorry,
proud
I
That's
of
why
get
she
you.
really
gets the
pumped.
money bags.
There they are. It's where my grifter cash is stashed. Anyway, Jesse,
Oh
I'm so
man, yeah,
excited.
I'm so
I'm so
excited. Seriously.
excited. Okay, first of all, it's always too long, but in between your visits here, at least I feel like when we were having you on once a week, that was a fun time for me.
Right? I know, same.
You know,
Yeah, and
we need
that
to
was
do
that
this
was the
more.
lead up to this. It's like I was writing pieces for this, and they were just coming out faster than I knew what to do with them. And I remember you saying, "Well, when you finish the record, let's do a release and do the whole thing." And that was the
Yeah.
motivating thing to like get me to wrap this up and record everything. And it's interesting because I recorded these when I wrote them, and I sat on it for a while. And there have been an awful lot of times where I wait on a piece, and sometimes that's detrimental to it because then you come back and it just doesn't really impact you like it did before. And that
Mhm.
wasn't the case with this at all. Like I listened back to these and I honestly had forgotten about so many parts of them and so many lines that all of a sudden I read and I was like, had
It's
a really
heavy.
renewed sense of pride about it. And I was just like, I've
Yeah.
got to get this together and ready to go. And I read them very different now than what the recorded version was. But that's always the case when I'm reading for people versus reading for myself. When I read for myself, I get angry and there's nothing to remind me to tone that back. So the recorded version is much more blunt and it has a bit more of an angry urgency to it that I like a lot. That said, there's a part of me that wants to record some of these live because I feel like it's such a different thing when I do, which is another reason I'm so excited to do this because I like having a front to back
Yeah.
live reading of this. So
Well, I feel like because
yeah,
an album has like a story, it has like a mood. I mean, sometimes, and I think a
and
lot of your
this
work is
especially, you know,
very,
even though
yeah.
it's just spoken word, this was a really sci-fi, or at least I thought I wanted to do
It's so
sci-fi. And
dope.
again, like I said before, it no matter how far I tried to get away from the present, it all feels like it's one or two steps away from where we are now. And in so many cases, a line that I didn't have a specific meaning for when I wrote it, it was just vague and applicable. Now there are several specific instances that I read it now and I'm like, oh wow, like had I only known a month later that would really, you know, there are moments like that have unfortunately been kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy in some of these.
Yeah, like
But
your
that was
subconscious knows it before you
exactly the
are
things I didn't even
conscious
want to
of it.
admit to myself. I put in the very distant future in here, and like here they are, you know. So it is. In the end, I like how much it kind of blurs the line between fantasy and reality into those things, like you said, that you might not want to admit to yourself. You hope is just the plot of a movie, but it's not. You know, it's
Right?
something that's
Well,
already
it's
been
like
cooked up and
everything.
weaponized against
Yeah.
us. So
Everything terrible that we think, it's like it's actually way worse than what we
yep,
actually think. You know what I mean? It's
yep,
bad. Like everything's bad. And so it's like this weird space where you know that it's true, but like your brain doesn't want to function in that
yep,
space. And so like it's like a constant combat of like realizing how bad that it actually is, I think, for a lot of people. At
exactly.
least it is for me.
And
I go through that all the time.
to that degree, that's why a
All the
lot of this
time.
focus. Not that I don't talk about Biden and our politicians, but I talk a lot about Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. And
Ugh.
this was all before they were jerking each other off in space, you know? Um, and now, again, we're just one step closer to them getting whatever the fuck they want. And it's really disturbing. Um, So yeah, the subject matter of this, I've really taken to heart something that David McBride said when I was on with you guys. That
Which was awesome.
my stuff was, God, it really was. He said that your stuff is really dark, but it's very hopeful at the same time. And I really appreciated that comes through, because obviously if I didn't have any hope, I wouldn't be doing anything.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be trying to get some message out with some urgency if I didn't feel like it was vital, whether it's just for the next generation's benefit or for ours, it remains to be seen. But
We're
yeah,
so
and
far
whether
gone.
people want to admit it or not, we're living in very dark times, and
Yeah.
I personally believe that the art that's being produced now, it doesn't have to be, but for my taste, it should be reflective of that
yeah,
in some way. That
yeah,
feels more honest to me, at least.
yeah, for sure. And that's why, as I
Yeah.
started writing this, I mentioned a couple flowers, and then they had
love
kind of some
that.
sinister second meaning to them. And I wanted to really play off of the idea of plants having some multi-purpose, Wi-Fi connectability and ability to, listen and God knows what else. So the artwork I originally wanted to do for it, which didn't really pan out, I don't have the capability, and I'd commissioned my brother to do this. He's a tattoo artist, and he's like swamped to the point that I was like, let's pump the brakes on you having to do something for me on the side, because the last thing I want to make him do is work on his off time. But the concept I really wanted, that I still am going to do for something, I might even have to make a shirt. I love the idea of some flowers with little camera lenses in them, some exposed wires. I'd considered burying the Amazon logo on it, but that could be a whole box of legal worms that I might not want to. But
you probably could hit it, but it's still risky.
Right. But if anyone wants to make fan art, let's do flowers with wires and camera lenses, because I have not like seen that other than in my head, and I really want to see that.
And for some reason, I just got a picture of Alice in Wonderland. It's very kind of Alice in Wonderland too. You know what I mean?
And Sophie did an incredible job. She made the cover for War Crime Jams to Pork 2. And she said she actually heard when you mentioned, well, why don't you just ask someone on Twitter to do the cover? I was like, I would hate to make someone do that. And then she messaged me and she was like, would you want me to do that? I was like, I mean, if it's not too much trouble.
I think artists
she made a couple ideas that were all phenomenal, but this one looks so much in keeping with the first two covers, that it feels like it's perfect, because the couple things I'd released recently, I don't feel like, not to sound like such a nerd about it, but this is what I envision my third album in my political album series to be, like the virus inauguration gift coming of spring, which is why the cover is still black and white, the COVID spore. And the first line of this is the last line of inauguration gift, repeated. So to kind of just pick up where that left off, the line that is chanted at the end of Lockheed Martin OnlyFans, this is the land of the brave, this is the home of the free, one was condemned in 08, one was condemned in 16. I just butchered my own line, but that's where I wanted to pick up on this. So it just kind of goes right into where we'd been. Yeah, I think that's about everything I wanted to cover with it before we get into
okay,
it.
so do you want to do you want to do the song first and then we'll just chat about it for a minute, or and also how long do you have?
I got plenty of time. The album,
those are my favorite answers.
if you run it through, it's an hour on the nose.
Okay,
so,
well, it's gonna be longer than that.
So we're in for a little over an hour.
Get a snack, sit down, hang out.
Like I said, I just drank about a whole pot of coffee. So I'm ready to roll.
Okay. All right.
But
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Like I'm giddy. I'm so excited. I needed this, you guys. I needed just a chill night. And this isn't really.
And so I do, again, like I mentioned what David McBride said, as heavy as this is, it's not without its hope. If nothing else, from the anger you get, it might be heavy, but I don't feel like it's
not
endlessly bleak, yeah, we're gonna get into it. And again, I'm beyond excited to do this. Like,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
These make me happy. I want to, like, if you guys, we need to get more musicians on too. We need to get like, because I like doing this. This is better than talking about. I mean, I know we're going to talk about dark stuff, but it's at least music's involved here. I don't have to, you know. Oh, everything sucks, you guys.
True.
Don't be such a negative Nancy. Okay, are we ready? Are we ready to start? Are you ready to start? Okay, so the first song, is it song?
This
Did we ever decide?
It would just be Peace. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And it's weird, when I listen to other spoken word stuff, everything has some background music or some ambient something. And I didn't want to do that. I like the idea of it just feeling like a message that someone was given to you, that anything else took away from the frantic feeling. I wanted this to sound like it could be some recording that someone was able to slip you through the fence, that kind of just. If my setup is guerrilla recording, then I wanted to really just lean into that hard. So
yeah, and once again, he records all these in his car, in his garage.
On this,
I love that. All right,
and this guy, big shout out to Shure for the MV5. I love this thing.
Word.
All right, so yeah, first piece is New World Anthem. This is the home of the brave. This is the land of the free. One was foreclosed in 08. One was condemned in 16. And one day soon, when it's all torn down and the New World Anthem erupts from the ground in the choir of terrible sounds coming out of the studio audience trapped in the rubble beneath, we'll see that theirs is a river that runs through the streets. That theirs is a river that ought to have brought us all up to our feet and off of our knees. But who'd have imagined the sound of it flowing would hit your ears like a peaceful creek and just ease you to peaceful sleep? So that you don't see that the news you read is just parroting a narrative, a new world American imperative. That you believe whatever the police believe, that you speak less English and more in the vein of a CIA press release. If the rest is dissent, then the rest will cease. And I wish I could put you to rest and say, honey, this has all been a dream. But this was a test, and the lesson was the better learned less within the breach than the observance. If the rest is dissent, it will no doubt be met by a heavy military service. And so starts the war between ruling class fascists and their wage-starved servants. That's my time. Here's a tape marked urgent you can take back to the surface. Now go and tell our masters that it's time for them to serve us. Time for them to finally serve their purpose. And if that makes them nervous, then it's only because they know that they deserve it. For building back the wall and all their recent talk of iron curtains. For funneling us all into the shelters or the missing persons. Because God forbid they open up their coffers or their purses. They'll only spring for coffins if you fill an application out and they decide you're worth it. And actually, you foot the bill. They'll pay you back. They swear they will. I mean, do you recall a time the U.S. government had lied or changed their minds regarding something crucial like a treaty or a reimbursement? You really think this country can't afford a decent plastic surgeon? And urge you right along so you can't spot a single flaw in all the newest versions. Our leaders wash their image and their money in the same detergent. And they bathe in all our data like the blood of virgins. And over the horizon howls a horrifying giant who once performed the rites of merging Sprint and Virgin, and who heralds now the sacrifice of Sprint to feed Verizon. It's always open season in the corporate sense, and we're the severed heads that will adorn the fence around the mandatory fair, where we will be concurrently the ones who buy the tickets to the circus and the useless prizes. Our torture wears such fair disguises. That's New World Anthem.
Nice.
Oh man.
I wish I had lyrics. I wish I had the lyrics. I should have been taking notes. Damn it. I should have been taking notes. That's such a great way to start out.
I'm
the
sorry
album,
again.
though,
That's the one.
No, it's
the
fine.
one thing I forgot to do today was get you guys the
It's
text
really,
for all of these.
but I think I do need to take notes though, legit, because there was a lot of stuff that I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to write fast enough.
New World in the title, is that referencing something specific? Is that pointing to something specific?
Reset,
Yeah.
you know, however specific someone wants to make that, just that big sweeping change that's out of our hands and is obviously permanent, which is why I worked in the few brand mentions and the data, because it does feel like that was something that was so subtly taken from everybody, and there's so much money that comes from it, and it's something people just don't even think about, don't give a shit about. And it's a great example of how easy it is to do something that insidious and just sweep it right under people, and they don't fucking care, you know?
Yeah. That's why they peck. They peck away. It's not like they don't ever do sweeping, like huge announcements of things that they're taking from you. They just start taking it little by little.
Yep.
And before you know it, it's the frog in the pot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
Everybody's just making themselves okay with things in stages.
I can't remember who said it, but it was like, if you're not paying for the product, then you are the product. It's so true, you know?
Yeah. Everything's transactional. It's so gross.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. It's 2021 and humans are still doing this bullshit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
yep. Which, interestingly enough, we've transitioned perfectly to number 2, which was me wanting to first call out and then dive into that kind of frantic justification of a liberal mindset when the person that you've been defending starts walking back everything they promised and being the same monster you've ranted about for the last 4 years, and you have to try to convince yourself that there's still a better option, or there's still, you know, that's fascinating to me. And
they're normal. They're not Trump.
Right?
They're normal.
Right? Exactly. And that led to this. This is Autopilot, the Liberals' Lament. Now, this might just be the last song before I'm silent. A kamikaze autopilot. An awful lot of hate in my heart and a propensity for kindness. Adrift in an ocean of centrists and all of the rest of the otherwise eyeless. And I know the instinct to lower one's gaze in the hope of escape is ancestral and timeless. But you need to know that the binds that detain us in no way define us. May everywhere you lay your feet be the battleground. Anywhere you keep the fight in your heart, honey, that's where the fight is. The force of our will is worth more than their might is. The cold touch of steel is worth more than the touch of the Midas. And they can dig canyons or craters or gulfs, but they cannot divide us. We are the poor and the huddled, forever denied until forced into violence. But quell your excitement. That dark mass of clouds seen amassing for war on your placid horizon are born of the toxins of white men, who see themselves more as the gods moving mountains and speaking in lightning than actual human devices. Manifest destiny, narcissist energy, war pigs in crisis. And endlessly each will keep funding their own little personal ISIS. Each will keep feeding delusions of grandeur and masculine righteousness. Each will pour gas on our hopes and then strike up the match of divisiveness. And broadcast it right in our homes and our phones, and the service is free, because for them to see all of that poison take hold is elite level pricelessness. As timeless as oligarchs feeding you mindlessness. So right, this is one of those times that I suddenly wished I was sightless as I listen lifeless to liberals praising our brightest defenders of Western invasion. Praising the people defending a flag that has flown over craters of peaceful and sovereign nations bombed off the face of creation. And all to spread something that we call democracy, mockingly probably. Honestly, we come to starve out your colonies, clear out your properties, claim your resources, and set up a government covered in puppet string, tied to our global agenda and ripe for the summoning. This is how we keep policing the desperate, knowing we foster their suffering. This is the mark of the beast of America. So pull yourself out of the gutter by only the straps of your debt, sharpen your hustle, and build you some character. Break down your body to enter the lottery. Set your sights right on the luxe, comfy life of a senator, something that's really worth coveting. Because down in the streets, it's a storefront morgue. The sheets are boards and they reek through the coverings. So I'm not saying the sky is falling, I'm screaming the heavens are plummeting. I came for the catalyst, stayed for the dread and that hideous trumpeting. I came for a glimpse of the spirit of war, covered in gore and speaking in gluttonies. A chorus at once both familiar and otherly, shatter my solace while soothing me, motherly, mindlessly touch. I'm a hyacinth crumbling under the dirt to the earth, to the worst of discoveries. I came for the cavernous, hideous trumpeting. I stayed until I didn't mind, and then stayed until I found it comforting. I stayed till the gore was a medal of valor, and all of the war crimes were human and humbling. I stayed until I was defending the caging of children and calling dementia stuttering. I stayed until I was a big fan of access and cautiously skeptic when asked if our healthcare was something our government ought to be covering. Until I was completely complicit in whitewashing immigrant sterilization, refugee separations. I stayed until I swore that I still saw justice in all of this bigoted bludgeoning. Not just eugenics parading as something communal in service and properly functioning. Not just eugenics you passively swallow like Xanax when pitched by your favorite brands and your most trusted companies. Not us insisting that progress is Congress collectively stumbling. Not just the Democrats holding the Senate, the House, and the ball and intentionally fumbling. Not just our leadership throwing the fight when it's not their lives on the line, it's our kids on the mat and they're taking a pummeling. Because the hearts of the greedy weep not for the needy, they just pump funds for their own refunneling. And they burrow in their wealth like a corpse worm tunneling, stomach full of money, but they never see the sun again. It's really kind of funny when you think about it. Then again, it's really so disgusting I'm on stun again. Mouth agape, my eyes glaze. The drool is positively puddling. The taste of dirt is fresh and newly earthen on my tongue again. And I am running through a meadow from the truth of who I voted for. And God, the sun is shining, but the thunderstorms are rumbling. I built back better, didn't stay to see it tumbling.
I think that's a
I
very
can't write fast enough.
timely song, especially now with the Build Back Better
Yeah.
shenanigans. And you read through what's included in that, and $500 million, 500 billion, sorry, going to climate change effort.
Right.
You guys,
And
we're getting fucked.
and if you read how it's going to be funded, there are literally sections that say this measure is going to bring in 400 billion, but we're also implementing this measure, which is going to cost 400 billion, and take
Exactly.
it from that measure. Yeah,
Yep.
it's a farce.
It's
and-
disgusting. It's disgusting. And that's what I say it all the time. This is just now, we've normalized it. Like Americans are walking around like, that's the best we can do. What the fuck is wrong with you? Snap out of it. Snap the fuck out of it. It's unbelievable. Y'all, you deserve better. We deserve better. We deserve better. This is fucked up. The way things are, it's fucked up. I need everybody to just take a deep breath and let that sink in. Things are really fucked up and they don't have to be this way. That's what's so
I
frustrating.
took my deep breath. I listened to you.
Did you? But it doesn't have to be this way, right? It doesn't. It's a choice. This is a choice. Well, it's a series of choices, and it's a series of choices that we've given to people who have no business being anywhere near a position of power. We elevate the worst among us, but Jesus Christ, snap
I
out
actually, I recently went to, there's a very, very popular open mic locally that I went to and decided I'm going to play a few of my pieces and see how it went. And I was honestly not prepared for the feedback I got. And if anything, I don't maybe give people enough credit for how fed up they are, because I did, I can't remember what else I played, but I know I did Red Pilled. And I mean, every manner of person came up to like talk to me about it. And they were all like, it was really nice. It was very inspiring.
That's encouraging.
And so I came back and decided, okay, let's see how spoken word goes. And I did autopilot. And again, I got a really good feedback from people, and like no one was pissed. I'm like, okay, all right, let's go burn something down. We might be onto something here.
Well,
So
and that's exactly
that
why they
was,
try to keep everybody divided, because everybody
Yeah.
is fed up.
Yep.
And
You
that's
know?
and that points to what we've been hearing about this so-called great resignation, which is people not wanting to go back to bullshit wage slave
Yeah.
jobs. People
Why would you?
Exactly. People have, I don't want to say woken up, because I don't like that term.
I don't
and
either, but I don't know what else to say.
I don't think that, I think a lot of people were tuned into the bullshit
Mhm.
for a long time. And
Mhm.
with this so-called pandemic and the controlled demolition of the economy and medical apartheid, they're really starting to see all the way through to the bones of
For sure.
this horrendous creature that
Yep.
doesn't just exist as American government and American imperialism. It's
Mhm.
this idea of global governance and
Yeah.
perpetual crisis
Yep.
and sacrificing ourselves and our children for the common good.
Yep.
And that's the common good.
Yeah.
For Jeff Bezos's bank account. That's what that is.
And again,
You know.
what? We've done a good job of kind of leading up to subject matter for our next piece. Hyacinth was again me thinking about how often people say, well, if you don't vote, you don't get to have a say so. If you don't reach out to your politicians, you don't call your elected officials or write your elected officials. Again, the people who have obviously made it clear that they don't give a shit and they just tweet to see who's mad and how mad and take notes. I thought about, you don't call, you don't write, that kind of dismissive, that dismissive mindset that politicians flaunt at us.
Well, the logic of that argument is so false that
Exactly.
if you don't participate in the farce, then you have no right to criticize the farce.
Exactly.
It's a farce regardless, and whether you participate in it or not, it's still invading your life to some degree. So you have the right to criticize it as much as you want.
Yeah. So Hyacinth kind of jumps in and out of that point of view coming from an elected official and from us, from the cattle. And this is when it really starts to get into that bleak sci-fi dystopia that really mirrors our now. So this is Hyacinth. What more you have to give? You don't call, you don't write. How is that not to imply that you think what I'm doing must be right? You think that I'm doing all right, and you don't mind giving up your rights. You don't mind seeing your leaders aligned with the violent right. You don't mind carrying water to pour on the altar where we plan to sacrifice all of your pensions in one of our nameless imperial rights that renders the rioters silent and pries every rhyme by its root in their heads, that quiets the storm by denying them platforms to buy up some time for the task force crafting a law to detain them and mace them if they try and ask for their water and bread. Now, mind you, the bread looks like moss off a boulder from all of the mold, and the water is rusted and red. As bitter as all of the blood you hear pounding when you try and block out the sounds as you're lying in bed. Mind you, the bed is a spot on the floor, and there's really no more to be said. You don't call, you don't write. If you knew better, there'd be mountains of letters outside, stacked to the sky, blocking the sun out, blocking my drive. They would slow the flow of my campaign funds down, my reputation in the ground by sundown. It's a good thing I got MSNBC on my PR rundown. To put you at ease, maybe give you a nice little neo-lib rubdown. And blare my redemption from Breitbart to Cumtown. Flood all your free speech channels with a bunch of raw shit and shut the pumps down. and then usher out a couple dozen sock accounts to pop up in your mentions with their toxins stocked and talons out, here to help defend a man's dementia with the passions of a talent scout, selling you their bullshit while they're drooling half a gallon down the hat. They'll pull a rabbit out. Verbally, they'll strap you down. They'll slap you with a finely crafted soundbite from the squad that you can try and feed your family with, or play back for the officers arriving to evict you in the hopes that they won't snatch you out. But big surprise, their clubs are out and masks are down, impolitely asking you to pack a little faster now, just to please the bastard with the fascist tats and badge that makes him think he's someone actually of matter, not an actor playing overseer at the sick behest of benefactors who will starve as many families as it takes to make their profits fatter. And when they tell those loyal cops their kids are on the chopping block to sate their daily greed and need to satisfy their hungry stock, statistically, 2/5 of these are all too pleased because it just means that they can beat their spouses without all those little weak attempts to make them stop. I was watching TV screaming, make it stop. Screaming at the cable feed of Double Talk. Screaming at the Daily Razor shaving down our labor laws. And screaming at the left like they can wave a wand and change it all. Screaming at the leaders we gave time and trust and money to who played us all. We the people, tattered rags and paper dolls. Screaming at our debt and at the overfed pigs who created all. Trying to teach the ways of the world to my son like I don't hate it all. Stone soup? Cops came and ate it all. Waters for the homeless? Cops are gonna break them all. Education budget? Cops are gonna take it all. Send your kids to prison. Think about the time you'll save us all. Years later, you'll be lucky if you're paid at all. Years later, you'll be wired to a grid that turns your brain's electric current to a resource they can strip, and we will all be mining Bitcoin 80 hours at a clip. Too tired for the drive home. It ain't worth the trip because it hurts to be reminded that you never see your kid. And every time they fire up the hub and plug you in, their memory recedes a little further till it blurs into the dim, until you can't recall your kin. You open up your eyes and you see Tesla on your skin. Earn a dime a day and owe them 20 for a mandatory membership to Tesla Gym, where we're all one big happy family who neutralized your family at the gates when they tried to sneak a message in, and taunts you with escape in our advertising messaging. Taunts you with the sounds of a child at play, a warm summer day, the things we can all sense slipping away because their frequency is lessening. You are working for a living in which you are only visiting, working under safety laws that profit ends up pivoting and shifting into figures in which losing you is just the cost of maximizing profit in the world that we do business in. The world in which we fight to see a bright side but always get the business end. And I've been here in wait since late '08 to witness this descent. So suck my soul away in little bits, a dime a day, but with a monthly cap of 50 cents. Because Tesla-funded studies show that overpaid employees don't know what to do with all the extra money because they're lazy and they're ignorant. But all the extra capital keeps innovation radical, so you can say that you were part of history in the making in the unacknowledged, patronizing, strictly honorary sense. Now we understand you may resent that Mr. Musk was heaven sent to take you on his back for his divine ascent, and that just before he reached the palace gates above the firmament, he dropped you on the outer steps a month before retirement. Again, may we refer you to suggested ways of demonstrating gratitude for Mr. Musk that he was kind enough to let you feed his great Leviathan. Tesla-funded studies show that you amount to nothing in the hours you're not wired in. Hours you spend quietly denying that you let them in your head or let them walk potential buyers in. Mind you, all of this a mere month before retirement. Mind you, your retirement is waiting in the dirt that feeds the hyacinth. Or maybe, if you're lucky, you could spend another year assisting researchers in biosynth. Now, mind you, that amounts to nothing more than torture, but they wipe your memory after every session, washing out all prior sense. Think of it as Mr. Musk absolving you of prior sins. Don't think of it as skinning you and fitting you with trial limbs. Think of it as Mr. Musk presenting you the opportunity to help America's elite achieve tighter skin, fuller lips, healthy eyes, smoother lids. Don't think of it as rape. Try to think of it as Mr. Musk assigning you a mate because America needs cattle. I mean, kids. Don't ask what Mr. Musk can do for you. Ask yourself if there is something more you have to give. Ask yourself what more you have to give. Ask yourself what more you have to give. Ask yourself what more you have to give. That's Hyacinth.
So I'll have you know that Thomas Friedman, who's like, I think we all know who he is, but he's like this failed motivational speaker who's become like the permanent resident optimist columnist at the New York Times.
God, that's a great band. Optimist columnist.
He just published a piece titled "If we want to save the world, or if we want to save the planet, or if we want to save the climate," something like that. We need more Elon.
More Elon Musk.
More Elon.
Oh my
Musks.
God!
Yeah.
No, he did not.
Yeah.
You guys, what is this? What is that? Why? Like, every time, like, rightfully call Elon Musk, who is a sniveling little worm. Like, he got. Come on, really? Oh, every time he has like these fangirls, it's ridiculous. And I don't just mean fangirls, but like just stands in general. Oh,
Yeah.
It's exhausting. He's not a good person. Stop it. Jesus Christ. He could choose to end homelessness tomorrow, hunger tomorrow. He could do that himself tomorrow. He's not a good person. That's not how that works. You don't get to
he
have that much
doesn't
money,
seem
not use it
very
for good.
bright either.
No, he doesn't. Well, I mean, whatever.
Hey, we don't.
that guy.
There's no
But that
room for
song
you
makes
up
me
here.
sad because people.
There's no
Aw.
room.
Hi.
There's no room for you up here.
But he has-
Aw,
he
There's
has a
always
cer-
room.
He has a sort of trance-like hold on people. Remember
Yes, it's weird.
Remember when, as if you could forget, he shot a Tesla into space? Even Newt Gingrich in an interview, in a televised interview, was like, "I think what he's doing is fantastic."
I know.
Like,
it's
what are you
it's
talking
capitalism.
about?
Don't show your beehole
No,
on the camera.
He has
do
a
that.
lot of money, and so like everybody's like, oh yeah, it's like the same thing with Jeff Bezos. Like Jeff Bezos is a scumbag, and we like people elevate and like, oh look at Jeff Bezos, and then
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos doesn't have a lot of supporters though. Like most people
Yep.
agree that Jeff Bezos is a piece of shit. Elon Musk.
We
has
get
this
into
weird
Jeff
cult
in this next
following.
one.
Yeah, I
This
like
is
it.
when we
But
start
that
really
song,
digging into
Hyacinth
Bezos.
makes me sad because people just work. Like, what's the
Mhm.
line? Help me. You're living.
You're
as
working
something-
for a living in which you are only visiting.
Yes. Every time you say that line, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, if I was gonna like
That's
spray
it.
paint a line of mine somewhere, that'd be the one. I think.
Well, I mean, and then
know?
you talk about how you don't like to be reminded that you never get to see your kid. And it's like, y'all,
Mhm.
you're working like 2-3 jobs. You don't ever get to see your family. You don't ever
Mhm.
get to just relax. You don't ever get to just
Yeah.
be. You're stressed out all the fucking time. And Elon Musk is shooting
Yep.
cars into space, and Jeff Bezos is taking penis shaped rockets out to space. Like, that's
Yep.
not okay. Why are we
And have you
accepting
noticed
that?
how-
So
have you
frustrating.
Have you noticed how the big tech axis of Zuckerberg and Musk and who's the other one? Zuckerberg, Musk, and Bezos. They don't look like real human beings, and they
No.
all have these names too that have a
Mhm.
sort of like demented sci-fi air to
Mhm.
them, like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg.
He kind of
Mhm.
looks like Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
A little bit like that's who he's always reminded me of Dr. Evil for some reason. Like, I don't know. He's like a weird mix of like Dr. Evil and I don't know.
Elon
I know it's just the
Zucker
baldness,
Bezos sounds like a Rick and Morty character.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
seriously, the way they just make up like some ridiculous alien name, Elon Zucker Bezos.
Elon Zucker Bezos.
Yeah.
Elon Zucker Bezos. I like it.
And
They're a
if you look
three-headed
at-
monster, really.
And if you look at what they've done, what they've created, look at the metaverse. That place looks
Oh
like
my
it
God.
sucks.
It does.
Who in their
Like,
right mind
imagine-
would want to spend any time in there?
No.
Imagine if the
No.
Wii Sports menu was a really bad acid trip that you couldn't ever leave. Like,
Do not
it's a
ever
nightmare.
allow
It's
yourself-
absolutely a nightmare.
Oh, it's creepy. They're
God.
creepy, and they think like he's all excited about it. Like, oh, look, we're gonna do. No, it's not. Nobody
Mhm.
wants that.
Yeah,
Nobody wants
there-
that,
There
asshole.
are people.
Nobody wants that.
Your avatar is sitting in an office meeting and it has no legs. It just it's a torso, and then
That's exactly how they want you. You have no legs. You can't leave the office. That's their wet dream.
They just want you to sit in a chair and not ever talk to human beings or interact with anybody in real life. They want you to sit with this stupid VR bullshit on your head.
Exactly.
And no. Nobody asked for that, asshole. Nobody.
The graphic technology is horrible, and it's all stuff you can do in real life. But it's obviously
even if
capitalizing.
It were cool, go outside, talk to people.
You know what? Before we do this next one,
it's obviously in part capitalizing on the scare of the so-called pandemic and people still isolating themselves and being distant from family and friends. So this is supposed to be,
which has been effective.
This is supposed to be some sort of technocratic gift to ameliorate that, but it looks like a hellscape, if you ask me.
Even if it were cool, I'm not interested. Like, I would be cool. Like, my kids got this thing. It's not super fancy and like the graphics aren't great or anything, but like you can put it on your head and it looks like you're in outer space. So you can like kind of turn and see the different planets, and then you can like go to the different planets and it'll give you information and all that stuff. There's one where like the Statue of Liberty, you can go and like it looks like you're at the Statue of Liberty, and you can just kind of turn around and see the different things, and it gives you like historical lessons or whatever. And that's cool. Like, that's, if you can get me to a point where I can like kind of travel somewhere, like actually stand in like just my living room and it looks like I'm in Greece and I can like, you know what I mean? Like kind of see, I think that's great, but I don't want to live there. You know what I mean? I don't want to live there. I'm cool with that, you know?
Oh, you live there.
Yeah, no, once you visit, you've already signed the contract. You're going to end up living there.
Yeah.
Not going back.
Oh,
we all signed the terms and services. We did it a long time ago.
So creepy.
Okay. Let's get into the creepy. This is another title I was so geeked out about when I came up with. This is Mark IV Geranium. I guess I didn't think that there was more beneath the ice. I didn't think the great experiment was just me being nice. I never thought that I could shut my mouth and get the message out directly through the eyes. And I didn't think the virus would still be here after all this time. I thought I'd hit my limit, but I never saw the line. I always think I'm finished, then I'm visited by half a dozen rhymes. Visited by half a dozen visions. Visited by half a dozen visions of the future Bezos had in mind. A future you can picture since you've lived it half your life. But now it's blooming brighter like a jasmine in the night, or more like a prototype of Amazon vine. You put it in some soil and pretend that it's alive. You let it see the sun so it can read the Wi-Fi, and Amazon promises it doesn't read your dreams or seep a toxin in the air that makes you sensitive to sunlight. So yeah, you may not ever get to see another sunrise, but you got a year's sub to Amazon Prime because it came with a free code. And it's sentient, even in its sleep mode, scanning faces, mapping clothes, keeping records of your speech and your habits on your phone, shaping all their ads to target you alone. And suddenly you look up from the glow of your device and it's just you alone. Frozen in the ice beside the fossil of a megaphone. Frozen next to faded signs like "We are all Assange" and "Send Mumia home." If Bezos had his way, we wouldn't need a home. We'd spend every day inside our cubicles, working every finger to the bone or up our cuticles, fed by only fear and our adrenochrome. Till one day you escape, but it's a little too late, because you won't recognize it when you see your home. Because you still look the same, but all your friends are in the senior home. Because Bezos lured you right into the cryo tank by telling you that you're the type of worker he would like to groom for CFO. And you don't know your name, but you know somewhere there's a bank where Jeff had told you that your pay would go. But it's right in the center of his hideous estate, past the Amazon drones and the Amazon tanks who call in every Amazon robot dog in their ranks within range of their radios. And these are not the dogs that you have seen in the videos. These are dogs that no one else has seen and lived to document, so you do well to pray for those and pity those. Every little movement is unnatural and alien, and such a blatant mockery of canine form contorted into such a monstrous radiance, it chains you to a fear that is the oldest and the innermost. And it's hidden close to visions of the blaze that only took a half a day to sweep Arcadia. and burn the forest down, allowing Jeff to break ground on the Prime Coliseum and the Amazon Stadium. Somewhere he can sit and watch us battle to the death to have a shot to fill an open spot and maybe make enough to pay for insulin and radium. Just imagine all the rush of the palladium, but painted in the neon sword of gray of pure uranium. Safe to say, if Elon had his way, we'd all be husks with just enough cerebral mush to push the buttons, but not enough to make it past the Tesla brand Mark IV geraniums. Who can tell that little microchip they slipped into your cranium to trickle out some lithium to level off your gradient? Maybe you'll think twice before you go try something brave again. Maybe you'll think twice and then the prior thought will fade again. Tesla training pamphlets all acknowledge there's a period where entry-level interns and associates may need a little breaking in. You can shut your eyes, but they're still breaking in. Down beneath the ice, the earth is caving in. Down the road, when Amazon knocks down your home, the house just can't be found. It's just an Amazon casino wrapped around the fucking globe, and every hand they make you fold and tell you Bezos wins. Bezos makes the rivers red where NATO swims. Now watch the UN fume again and draft a resolution to compose a strongly worded letter stating their admonishment, condemning the abuse of human rights, and then they all go back to watching with a paralyzed astonishment. Frozen in the air like they're the painting of a parliament, locked in counter-arguments, quoting from the blackest stack of Amazon-approved redacted documents. Amazon's internal workings writhing like a toxic mass of moccasins. Amazon's job fair day, where they lied about your pay and then they locked you in. Watched by all the jasmine and geraniums and hyacinth stalking you and mocking you while eyeing you with higher sense and booting up the drive that loads the protocol for violence. So here's to that day when the pylons go silent and miles of highway close in a blink like the weight on your eyelids. Here's to your secrets once nothing is private. And here's to the prototype Amazon Vine that, according to Alexa, is just minutes from arriving.
Fuck Jeff Bezos. That's really what I have to say about that.
Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, hit me.
You should be able to. Do you see how to do it? Do you need audio? Because if you do, make sure you click the audio thingy. Like share with audio. I always forget that.
Okay.
I did a technology tonight, though, you guys. First time I've loaded up on Rockfin by myself. I'm pretty proud of myself.
So I love winter. I love the snow. I hate what it does to my hands. Like no matter what I do.
Can you see that?
No. Oh wait, here, hold on. I got it. There we go.
Wait, we're loading up. Yeah. Oh my god. What a cursed headline.
Yeah.
Not just more.
What a dill hole. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
We need
I couldn't find the official Times one. I had to find.
We don't even need the one.
Version.
Many more Musks. Many much Musks.
All the Musks. We don't even need the one we have, you guys. We don't. We're fine. We would be
Really
fine
don't.
without Elon Musk. That is a fucking ridiculous statement to make. Christ.
We need like 300% fewer, actually.
God damn it. Why did we do this? We
need more Tesla charging stations, though. That's for sure.
Oh, fuck Elon Musk.
Remember when those started popping up? There was no announcement. You just went to the supermarket one day and they were in the parking lot.
So
and people
it's
were
crazy
using them.
Sorry.
People were using them. That was the most shocking thing to me at first.
So at this point, we are about to hit the third of the way through milestone. And you might be thinking, you've hardly talked about Joe Biden. Well, that's about to fucking change.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Like I'm looking at the playlist and I'm so excited.
This is called Trump era hashtags. I wrote the majority of these at work. A lot of loud machinery around, so I have like heavy, over earplugs, and I usually just am kind of writing throughout the day, and I'll put in lines in my phone as I come up with them. I wrote so many of these, like well, you remember, I mean, I would write something and tell you like, hey, can we schedule a show so I can read it? And by the time we did the show, I had like 3 more pieces. Like these all happened in a very manic state. So this is called Trump era hashtags. Yep. Good timing. We're the ones who donated so you can win the race and turn around and make a cash grab. And then we turn around and thank you for the backstab. We only have to change the names on Trump era hashtags to hashtag Biden lied, people died, hashtag Biden built the wall, and hashtag Biden is a fascist. That one's going to get a workout this summer, every gas attack. Every time they kettle you and rush you in a charging armored mass attack. And the last thought that you have before your head hits the ground, splits, shatters, and then bounces back is how much they deducted for that body armor just before they gave your measly taxes back. This is war, and that's a fact. And this is more than Biden gets to fix by saying riot bad, white terror good, and sending you off with a little placid satisfaction thinking that was that. But that was far from that. That was far from making 500,000th of a surface scratch. That was only muddying the waters of your scrying pools, grinding bits of gravel on your looking glass. So that when all the truth is bare, it is but an empty air and a 1,000-yard stare with which we're looking past. And all it took for me was one classic Biden speech to know there's nothing I won't put him past. Be it jacking up your insulin, or caging every immigrant, or threatening the victims of his sex offense and smearing them to try and get his footing back. Biden is a war crime veteran who's dropped the bomb on better men and all for only Lockheed Martin's benefit. So please don't try to paint his bitter bigotry as something tame, like he was just a grumpy grandpa bitching for his pudding back. Unity and solidarity to Joe Biden means a meeting where the hoods are black. Which, if it's representative of anything, it's just the executioner who lives to swing the axe and never once has thought of looking back. And some need never fear the axe, who still possess a hope chest with the wood intact. The same who swear they'd never march with all those nasty fascists, but they would in fact. The same who say they'd never cheer a journalist who's being tortured for exposing war crimes each of us should deem important, but they would in fact. The same who say they wouldn't call the cops on every unassuming black teenager they see walking down their block, but they would in fact. Biden said he wouldn't, so you voted when you shouldn't, because he would in fact. That's Trump era hashtags.
Yeah, fuck Joe Biden too. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go,
Check.
Brandon.
Let's just mark another one.
Fuck Joe Biden. So much more needs to be said about that, because I'm so sick and tired of these dickheads who gave you the whole vote for him and then we'll push them left. And now shut the fuck up. You need to shut the fuck up for forever. Like, just shut the fuck up. Oh, God damn it. I'm so angry. Oh.
So next up on our list of fuck fill in the blank, it's the squad.
Yeah. There's like a couple like here we go.
We're just going down the list. We got Jeff Bezos, we got Elon Musk. We just did Biden.
Now we're doing the squad. Let's go, bitches.
And we'll come back. They'll all get seconds, but I'm just saying this is...
Biden was raging at COP26.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh. And that's the funny thing is, like, there's so many things now that I want to add to some of these. I'm not going to, but God, I could update a lot of these, you know.
He just auctioned off the Gulf Coast.
No shit.
He like days after he got back from COP26. What the?
Well, you know, one of the most disgusting things he's done recently is tell employers, don't pay any attention to the federal ruling about vaccine mandates. Keep injecting your employees. Yep. It's beyond reprehensible.
He's a piece of shit. He's always been a piece of shit. You were never
too many words for that to get into now, but it speaks volumes as to where the hell we are in this world right now. And I don't know where that is. More and more, I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
I don't either. Joe Biden is the president, you guys. Does that ever just like smack you in the face?
Yeah, every day.
Like, Joe fucking Biden is the president. That's a joke. Like, we're a joke. Donald Trump was the president and Barack Obama, no better. It doesn't matter who the fuck is president. I don't know if that could be made any more clear at this point. Really.
I've heard some
don't know.
serious commentators recently say
Starting to allude to that. Yeah.
Well,
which is good.
They don't think that Biden's going to make it past Easter as
well,
president.
That's always been, that's always kind of been the, he was never going to make it through a whole thing.
This piece was very much to that, just still having hope in people that have shown they're on the same side as the people they've been spending so much time telling you are the enemy. You know, that they have the same goals, they work the same agenda, they serve the same people. And
as we go into squad goals, just remember that the squad voted for the CARES Act, and then they just voted for this piece of shit bill. It's like another massive giveaway to the rich. They're shoveling money to the rich while you struggle, suffer, have to work 2-3 jobs. If you can find a job, can't feed your family, don't have insurance. Fuck the squad. Sorry, go ahead.
But they're doing a lot of stuff. They're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, that's why I love the idea of them being a bomb squad.
You're thinking
disarm
you're thinking micro right now. You really need to be thinking macro. And we gotta
playing 40 chess.
He's such a negative Nancy. Gosh,
we gotta elevate the discourse. We have to elevate the discourse.
Changes slow. Yeah. Fuck off.
Yeah, and that was when I thought about them being a bomb squad that did all this stuff to raise attention about the bomb and talk about the bomb and build a career off of it, but they don't fix it. It's right there and they don't touch it. And that led to this. This is Bomb Squad. Sick of the lie, and I mean the big lie. I'm sick of the talk and sick of the sight. So let it be said that I was a lyrical blade at the neck of the right, that I was a lyrical needle that entered the temple and opened the mind. Interim Lord of the Flies. Erecting a hall to the dead in a culture of trauma survivors who struggle each day to survive. Held under pressure by suited oppressors who peddle in blame with a little bit of victim shame on the side. So you can't quite measure the spite each day when you find that you've opened your eyes. In a nation refusing to honor the worth of your life. In a nation refusing to lessen the wealth of a handful to wash off the stains of our poverty lines. But they're happy to tweet on the issues and pat themselves all on the back for the bill they designed with zero intention to sign, but all too content to soak up all the media shine. Like a bomb squad only reporting to find the device and state that they found the device, watch the device, publicly shame and denounce the device, tweet every day on the risk that could rise, and then land on the cover of Vogue for their fearlessness, power, and style while facing that awful device. But behind closed doors, they can laugh with that awful device. They can shake hands with that very device that eats millions of struggling Americans' lives. And one day, when it blows sky high, they can wring all their hands at the toolkit sitting nearby with a manual walking them through the disarming and proper disposal, and all point fingers and all place blame over why it had never been tried. But if all of us hostages had those tools, we would not think twice. But instead, we were left in the dark with our hands all tied. They bring a few ball gags once in a while, and we open our mouths and we don't ask why. A few don't mind. A few start cheering the silence who view it as some kind of positive sign. And a few shout prayers to a squad that had sworn they were here to help and they were on our side. And suddenly, we could hear vehicles come up the drive. We saw the flashing of lights. We thought that help had arrived, only to find there was a media frenzy to see AOC wear her hair to the side. And Kamala Harris was not in attendance, but she sent her shoes in a bulletproof limo with heavy security detail that all of our taxes were gracious enough to provide. And along with her warmest regards, she sent a surprise. A shipment of muzzles and gags, and all of them signed, "Cheer for your squad or shut up and bite, President Harris." That's what I'll read through the tears in my eyes while I'm opening wide. And accepting my penance for daring to warn that the squad will be cutting your heat in the night before they take a blade to those wires. And our only hope to dismantle their precious device is in snipping the red and the blue because they're fully entwined. To cut out the red and the blue in our minds wherever we find. So here's to combining our hands and cutting the line. Here's to denying the motor the oil it needs to be primed. Here's to a wrench in the gears of your capital, hearing it grind. Here's to the feeling of loosing your collar and breaking your binds. Here's to the bliss of forgetting your number and knowing it's fine. knowing your name, living your life for a purpose beyond someone's profits, of which your retirement warrants a hollow farewell and equivalent gift of a dime. Here's to the bliss of us cutting the line. Like President Harris, I'm biding my time. Here's to the promise of breaking our binds. That's Bomb Squad.
I can't
Squad
wait for
2.
President Harris.
You guys, in
Oh,
2024, we're going to be gaslit about how we have to vote for the cop and Boy Wonder Spook because
Yep.
Otherwise you're fascist. That's exactly
Yep.
what's going to happen. And anybody who's still perpetuating that bullshit can fuck off all the way.
That's literally a line. I don't think it's in the next piece, but what is it? 2024, you'll be voting for either the Kamala bot or an outright Aryan, and they'll warn you democracy's up in the air again. That's tonight. That's coming
Every
up tonight.
every election is the most important election of all time. Fuck off. All the elections are stupid. They're all rigged. It's all bullshit.
Can you
You
see
have no
this?
power there. What? Oh, hold on. I gotta pull it up. Fuck that shit too.
It's only
Y'all.
58 of your American dollars, everybody.
She just signed a bill. She just
As-
signed a bill.
As complained about on Fox
Fuck
News.
her.
that's one of the
You know
details.
what? It might as well say, come and take it. Like, it's so just...
Not signed a bill. She voted for a bill.
Fuck's sakes, man.
Yes.
God.
Fuck these people.
Come take
Seriously.
my money, pores.
Oh,
God
God
bless.
damn it. Honestly,
Okay,
you guys. the
fun
fact that we're
fact.
Still...
This next
Go ahead.
piece is a good bit older. This is pre-COVID. This is 2019, when I'd really kind of just started writing again after a couple years where I didn't. And this was really the first lengthy political thing I wrote after such a long break. And I'm still really proud of it. It still unfortunately holds up, I think. This is called Influenza. So now we're to fuck the influencers. Democracy of colonists. I hear your sprocket squawking something awful, grinding to an operative. You know no one's really free where simple suffrage was an obstacle. To put it plainly, I don't think it's fair to say you have to pick a side between the war pigs and apologists. To put it bluntly, motherfuck your politics. To blunt it further, fuck you if you think this is the time to lay low and go the innocent innocuous. You want to murder, I will kill your confidence. But first I'll strip it bare, parade it through the square so your constituents can spit on it and really savor mocking it. We shouldn't have to tell you you can't fill a stomach up with fucking collagen. We shouldn't have to tell you that a bunch of fucking influencers won't attend your colleges. That a bunch of fucking influencers will not understand or lift a finger in the name of writing policies. They can't catch a meaning past a meme, by which I mean they need a photo they can see, and then a paragraph detailing why it's clever or relatable or funny, or at best a combination of the three. So the fuck you think you'll see when they assume the driver's seat? How fucked you think we'll be when they're the ones we choose to lead? God, could you imagine someone who's an entertainer, not a politician, as commander-in-chief? Just assuming our command with all the drama they could muster so the ratings for the news reports are truly all the best that they could be? Is entertainment really what a sinking vessel needs? And are we all fools enough that we could be distracted by an actor who isn't actually a president? They only play one on TV? Is that America just binging on some garbage television right before it goes to sleep? Or is it already asleep, adrift in deep water? The sheep were long slaughtered, so it dozed off, tallying the bodies in the streets. But it can't shake the stresses of the day, so it all replays on a loop like a fever dream, where it's seated in a throne and it bellows out, "Bring me the believer king." It doesn't take its time to gloat, it just slits his throat and smears the blood on everything. And wakes up with a pool of sweat, a sense of dread, a racing heart, and raging hard-on that could break through anything. The cocktail of emotions that I'm sure the founding fathers had in spades when they were putting words to page to build a stage for the display of the disease and crucifixion and decay of Lady Liberty. I got tickets $12 at the door, pre-orders only 10. Ask your average influencer to attend, they'd ask, what kind of cross-promotion can you give to me? Fuck you times infinity. Fuck all your entitlement that borders on divinity. Fuck the dickless shouting match that you call masculinity, and fuck my future self if he thinks differently. That's influenza.
Nice. I like that. It's like I was going to say a call to arms, but it's more like a credo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I like that.
influencers, what does that even mean?
Oh,
Exactly.
well, that's our government officials should never be influencers. What are we doing?
Right.
Oh, we should not have celebrititions. Celebrititions are not a
Oh,
thing.
that's
I
good.
want to be. It's not okay. We don't need those.
Yeah. I forget who was saying it recently, but they said that politicians like the Squad and almost all politicians for the most part, conduct their jobs online on Twitter. That's how you
Yeah.
find out about squad policy, if you want
Exactly.
to even dignify it with the word policy. But
Yeah.
you find out about it on Twitter for the most part.
Yep.
And there's something wrong with that. But I suppose that depends on whether or not you want to live in a so-called representative democracy. If you still believe in that fantasy.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, not to get too far off track, but someone was talking the other day on, I think it was on Fred Hampton Leftists Summit, which was phenomenal. Like the first day alone was so good. Like, oh my God. But they were talking about, you know, the attack from all angles perspective of, you know, no matter how much you don't believe in electoral politics, still fighting that fight. And no matter how much I shit on it, I do want to give respect to the people that still have it in them to do that, because I don't in the least bit.
Yeah.
But we need people that still do. And if you do, God bless you for it. Because again, I don't
know if we need people to do it, but
it just because it's the box that you have to tick before they take anything else seriously. That's what always gets thrown, you know. So I do feel like there is a validity to it, but it's not something I have the heart to give any fucking credibility to. So it's been poured out of me. But a salute to the people that still can and haven't lost that yet. You will.
Yeah, it's like a ritual stoning, and you come out of it either realizing it for the bullshit it is and having nothing to do with it, which still means you can fight it, or you come out of the ritual stoning and you say, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?"
Yeah. So, I have zero.
Sorry, the word of the day is ritual stoning.
Politics get us anything. Yeah. I definitely have no faith whatsoever in electoral politics. That's not ever going to. So again, but if you want to do that, okay, that's fine. I disagree with the fact that I will disagree with like even the fact that we don't need that. But if you want to do that, I don't tell anybody what to do, but we're not ever going to get anything from that. That's not ever going to happen.
Look at Congress and who is conducting serious policy, and people can have their opinions about them or laugh or whatever. But the fact is Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, that's about it. These are the only Congress people who are doing anything serious, and they have plenty of faults to pick at, but at least they're addressing serious issues that affect so many people, not just in this country, but around the world.
Yeah.
And the Squad is totally silent on, for example, the drone murder that happened at the end of August in Afghanistan.
Yep.
Rand Paul is the one asking questions about that.
Which, how fucked up is that? You know,
they still haven't mentioned that Joe Biden illegally bombed Syria multiple times.
Yeah.
Like they don't talk about that shit. AOC voted for the Iron Dome. Fuck her. Seriously, how is that acceptable to anybody?
But she cried afterward. So.
Oh, boo-hoo. I don't give a shit. I don't care. Palestinians don't give a shit if you cry after voting for their death. You know what I mean?
Speaking
Fuck
of,
you.
I almost did a spoken word version of my Palestine piece and put it on here, but the only reason I didn't was because that means I have to do another spoken word album. Which the immediate next thing I'm doing is the acoustic versions of songs from the first 2 records. My goal is to have that done before the end of the year, and then immediately I'm going right back into another spoken word project.
Nice.
I still love making music, and I'm still going to do obviously political songs, but there's something about spoken word that I feel like
Can I tell you
the
something?
message. Yeah,
I think it was performing with a megaphone.
that was that moment where it was the intersection of like, this is what I'm meant to do, like that feeling of performing live for people, but getting to do these pieces was just like, that was it,
into a megaphone.
And it was that megaphone was like, oh, like, I
there's
might
something
have
that's
to
on a
get
megaphone
tattooed on me, because my God, that was one of those, just I'll never forget that. I still, whenever I read Conviction, when I say to cry out for his freedom is the least that we could do, I turned around to all the buildings and let it like echo off, and I get to relive that moment every time I hear that line now. I just, that's one of those that really stands out for me.
Yeah,
and of
that
course,
song gets me every time.
Fun fact for people that weren't at the Medicare March, there were a couple state police patrolling the grounds, who came up and chatted with us beforehand and were very polite to us, all things considered.
They were
super nice. And so I felt a little bad what I was going to say, but I was still obviously going to do it. And I'm looking around the first few pieces, and it's like, coast is clear. I don't see them anywhere. I'm like, let's do Hyacinth. And right when I get to the statistically 2/5 of these are all too pleased, because it just means that they could beat their spouses without all those little weak attempts to make them stop. Who should show up in my peripheral vision except for the state policeman? And I looked up and I see Misty and I see Chris, the organizer for it. And they're both like, oh my God, is he going to survive? Like, what's going to happen? And I'm just like, oh, I'm still going to read it. I'm just still going to do this. Like, I just started.
It was pretty great.
I grayed out. I know I read it still, but I lost.
I knew it was coming, so I was like,
oh man, am I gonna get just knocked out from behind? But again,
it really was perfect timing, you guys. I can't even express to you. It was weird because they hadn't really been around.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like they came up and talked to us beforehand, but then they kind of like dispersed. They weren't really like paying attention or bothering us. They weren't anywhere near. And then
they were like, let's wait until he starts really getting fired up, and we'll just stand behind him.
Like literally walk right.
I was like, he's behind me, isn't he? It was just one of those kind of moments. Like, oh God.
Once he starts sounding like a rabble rouser, we're gonna close in.
They were good sports.
Yeah.
So this
they were nice. They're still pigs, though.
This piece, there she is. This piece is actually one of the longer ones on the record, and it marks about our halfway point. This is American Heritage. Lights raise on a table of senators inking a sale of arms, slipping in footnotes funding incentives to put those crops in the garbage and pay the farms. And in bursts a mother with babe in arms, who can't pay rent or a grocery bill with her faith or charm. And they tell her, save your charms, save the sob story for those who can help you. Our hands are tied to the puppet strings lifting our arms. This is the crop that we reap when we vote on the promise of peaceful sleep and a reduction of harm. These are the promises gone into hiding when Biden decides to walk back a reduction of arms. We are the people left shouting on mute because we dared to sound the alarm. We tried decrying a crisis of homelessness, hundreds of people who used to be homeowners buying the farm. Biden was too busy patting us all on the back over shots in arms. We are the cattle they'll put out to pasture or lock in the barn, burn to collect the insurance, and then they'll just carry on. We can be sheep or be carry on. We can be meek or be clarion. Haunting the ground we were buried on, we make the sound of the great beyond, echoing back to the chamber where all of those tireless senators stayed till dawn. Drafting provisions, improving the living conditions of only constituents riding this crisis out down in their summer house, sipping on Avion. I follow a man named Jatavion. He got pulled over and he made it home, but he knew it was almost the day that we don't want to come, but we all know will come and we're all sort of waiting on. The day that they snuff out your flame and explain they mistakenly thought that the safety was on. Half asleep and half mass hysteria. While back at the table, the senators label the final draft Project Valerian with the subtle approach of a botched cesarean. Dressed in the suits that their hideous final forms were born in and will likely be buried in. Close your eyes. Eat your news. Chew your Valerian. In 2024, you'll be voting for either the Kamala bot or an outright Aryan. And they'll warn you democracy's up in the air again. But how many men will we see by then with an officer knelt on their neck while they're gasping for air again? And the pig on their back is a dog of the state whose purpose is just to attack, and he knows that fact, and it makes him invincibly arrogant. Rabid as all of those fascists you train in your barracks and garrisons. Timeless indeed, like the Christian need to dehumanize those that they view as beneath them. Same old song that we sang to the Saracen. And you were today years old when you learned that for all this time, we were the actual terrorists. We were the source of those flawlessly crafted, disparaging narratives. And we have sent presidents here and abroad into absolute power or off to meet God to arrange all these corporate marriages. I was mistaken to call it tradition. This is American heritage. This is the land where they lighten your language, pick apart all of your paragraphs, gut every lyric of leverage. Smaller than all of those flecks of valerian they sent adrift in your beverage. Each word I write that tries shedding some light on the pig they portrayed as a presidential paragon. Each word I write regarding Biden, he whose sable arms, blacker than the purpose of the warships in the naval yard, orchestrate our fate to try to sate the thirst of Raytheon. Blacker than the water that we used to flood Iraq and trickled into Libya so Hillary could open up a nice global slave bazaar that we returned to sack and pat ourselves all on the back because we liberated Libya. The slaves are gone. But what we didn't know until today was that all of those slaves they said we saved are really on a plane and they're halfway to Gitmo. We interrupt this story due to Kamala arriving in her limo with her Timbs on, and that's all your need to know info. This is a historic day, and you can say you saw it with the last of all your energy because you were busy starving, staring at the roast that the senators were carving to celebrate a bill that faced no opposition in Congress, to cut back your heat and your lights at a time when the nights are their longest. And if you don't know the tune that they're singing by name after the grave, the Saracen can tell you what the song is. They will tell you that it's loudest where the smell of that valerian is strongest, where they turn around and make an arms deal after promising an armistice, where the workers get the wall and the scab solve stoppages. So take it up with Congress and their fortified offices, blocked by riot cops who'd love to stand on your esophagus because that's what they've been training for and told equates to competence. You brought it on yourself by refusing your valerian. You brought it on yourself when you hesitated giving us your child for experiments. You brought it on yourself by denying your family exposure to all our new variants. You brought it on yourselves. It's American heritage.
Yeah.
So, why the repeated use of valerian?
That's used as like a
Sleeping aid.
Calming aid,
Yeah,
sleeping
calming.
aid. And so I liked kind of just really playing that up to the point of it being used as just something to kind of help make people a little subservient. And yeah, I wish it was a bit more potent than it is, but it still has that use. So it's one of those things where if you Google valerian, that you'll see that use. And I would hope that people would, make
Melatonin and valerian mixed together is better than just either one by themselves, in my personal opinion, if you're really struggling. I have a lot of experience with insomnia, so kind of goes with having severe ADHD. It's just a thing, they kind of go together. My brain doesn't.
So-
Oh man, this one. Sorry.
So I was going to say that you reference hyacinth multiple times, valerian here, and I'm wondering if you were conscious when you were constructing these songs and this record about the juxtaposition between the natural world and
Not
this
right away.
biotech nightmare we're living in more and more.
I had realized with autopilot, mindlessly touch, I'm a hyacinth crumbling. That hyacinth there was just kind of used as just a little bit of a stream of consciousness line there. for more of just the visual that you get from it. And I love the sound of that fucking word. So then when I was halfway through writing the piece that turned into Hyacinth, and I was already on a rhyme scheme that kind of fit with that, the mind you, your retirement is waiting in the dirt that feeds the hyacinth. Then all of a sudden I started thinking about, okay, well, what's the hyacinth for? And then that went into the biosynth lab and just rolling with that as much as I could. So once I was thinking about that, then that's when I wrote Mark IV Geranium. And then I thought of the Valerian thing. I was like, okay, once I realized that had a sleeping, ability, I was like, oh, that's fucking perfect. So then it was just trying to, play off of that as much as I could. I'm such a nerd for concept albums. As soon as I realized there were through lines I could get between these and like things I could bring up and kind of repeatedly reference and tie in, I was just like so excited. That's just, I really thrive on that for inspiration. And so I was really happy that I got to like tie those together a bit more than anything else I've done so far.
Yeah, some of my favorite records or poetry collections are those that have, if not a concept, a through line where it seems like the different pieces are in dialogue with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And honestly, everything I love, like a lot of my favorite TV shows, I mean, God, like it's Always Sunny, they really do self-referential humor, and anything that rewards people that have been paying attention and want to look for little things like that. It's,
Buffy was good for that. Oh, I love Buffy. I really love Buffy. Buffy was good for that.
And I do.
As much as
and like
Joss
Archer,
Whedon is a prick.
But I love stuff that kind of gives you a little bit of a canon to it, something you can kind of flesh out a bit more. So especially with the spoken word thing, I was like, I want it to feel, if I'm doing sci-fi, let's go kind of conceptual and just have it be all these flowers and all this, like you said, kind of organic stuff being perverted into, just like us, forced into serving a role in capitalism, that even nature isn't safe. Which is why the title, obviously the saying, you can cut down every flower, but you can't stop the coming of spring.
Mm-hmm.
That's supposed to be inspiring for a revolution, that you can kill the revolutionary, but you can't stop the revolution. But in the context of these flowers too, that it's like you can cut down every flower, but these fucking things are still being made. There's still a factory making them. That's that sinister twist that you could put on the coming of spring when it's in the context of a Mark IV Geranium, and plants that are listening to you and collecting data and shit. I liked that. It, depending on your mood, it's either hopeful and inspiring to a revolutionary or awfully fucking bleak, because we are on that metronome just constantly back and forth a billion times a day.
Yes. That meme is so accurate.
Coming off of American Heritage, this piece, I think, kind of has, it's short, one of the shorter ones on here, but it was a little snarkier, and I wanted something about, it's still mad. It's a little bit more conversational, I guess. This is Civil War. I know it's hard to pay attention, but I need you eyes up right now. Try to give me just a little more. At the risk of sounding like a pessimist, I think it's safe to say that brighter days might be laying down 6 feet beneath the floor. At the risk of sounding too accelerationist, I think we just might need a civil war to stand a chance against a ruling class who rigged the game and spend a fortune more than we could ever save on an ad campaign to explain how we're looking at an even score. They complete the ritual and disappear through hidden doors. They wrap up a speech about a water crisis, warning you to ration every drop, and you get thirsty at the thought and turn around to find them sitting at your table, calmly sipping yours. They've set up travel offices, locked up all your faucets, started shitting on your kitchen floor. Like, thanks for your support, bitch, vote some more. We can keep this going like an open sore. You can watch your squat estate turn into storage wars. Watch them turn your will into an order form. And order up the perfect storm, an unassuming operative of court-approved surveillance and coercion, one which the most studious observer would confirm as nothing more than your nasturtium. One in which the utterly malignant Mr. Musk has swapped out all the chlorophyll for Tesla chloroform, propagating seeds that breed a lord of war, that wait to germinate until the day that Tesla's set to merge with Amazon. And so begins the long descent of Babylon, when all your churches, homes, and little monuments are trampled on. And while I know the sound will be so fucking sickening, I also know a little part of me is going to wish I had my sampler on, to capture all the screams of disbelief from the insulated, gated, safe communities that never seemed to care how many bodies all their land was on. Because now they're all patrolled by the same soulless soldiers that when they pull you over couldn't give a flying fuck if it's a taser or a gun that their hand is on. And some are only in it for the thrill of knowing every day they're making sure another kid is finding out their dad is gone. Now, who'd have thought that Biden's racial jungle would be planted here by Amazon? That's Civil War.
Okay, so watch them turn your will into an order form. Oh, Jesse.
And I don't
hit me
use
with
it.
a ton of bricks.
I hate the word bitch, and I
like
certain
it.
contexts, like I've just always kind of I've shirked from it. But it for that line, for a line in quotation marks, if you turn around and see them and they're say, "Thanks for your support, bitch. Vote some more." I couldn't not use that line, and we can keep this going like an open sore. That's one of my favorite on this record. Honestly, I love that segment.
Yeah,
that's one of the shortest.
Your will into an order form, though, dude. That's really, okay. It's the monetization of hope and like they come on. Dude, they were gonna have a reality show. The Activist. Fuck off.
God, that was such a joke.
Oh my God. And then it was like very narrow who they would accept. Like there was you couldn't be Black liberation, you couldn't be Assange, you couldn't be free speech, you couldn't be it was like environmental causes, education, like very like down
something
the middle.
Safe. Yeah.
Yes. And it was gonna be a complete farce. It was gonna be some tool who's trying to make a name for themselves. But that they've like
winner gets a selfie with Greta Thunberg.
Yes.
That's Thunberg to you.
How dare you?
How dare you?
I'm so sick of this manufactured shit.
This piece was actually pretty much by request. Anna Mayers, who I'm sure you're familiar with from Assange activism and being in the show. She's the one that requested Militia Intent when we were on with David. She asked me one day if I'd ever thought of writing something about food scarcity, supply chain. And again, this was months ago. And I did. And I was really happy to get to do that because she's been incredibly supportive and awesome. So if she's in chat, Anna, this is for you. This is called An Abundance of Scarcity. It starts with a few things missing at the store. A few things missing that you're likely to ignore. That didn't impact this trip or the one before. But it might impact the next 4, or every time you try to find provisions between now and the forevermore. Between now and the day when your neighbors form a horde and show up with their forks and torches trying to force your pantry door. And you could give them double what you really can afford, but they'll all be back for more. Because your meager little crop is not enough to stop a war. Not enough to stop a conflict. Not enough to stop our greed and primal need from just erupting into one communal mosh pit. Because Uncle Sam will starve you just the sight of fucking Auschwitz if it pleases Congress. If it pleases all the hawks so they can gas up all their bombers. Then devastate some other poor families far away and overseas because we illegally obtained their DNA and we link them to Osama. And when they send police to burn your gardens and your trees, and they tell you you can't feed yourself, you just might get a visit from Obama. He can put his arm around you, maybe offer you a drink of ice-cold Flint water. And he'll tell a little story about a hard-working immigrant who's here to live the dream and make a future for his daughter. He works the high-fructose corn syrup vats at the factories that forge our fodder. And he'll tell you what a slap in his face it would be to refuse the fruits of all of his labor just to live a little longer. He'll tell you how the spirit of America is carried by the people who would brave a little danger just to make the whole collective stronger. And he'll make it sound so sweet that you'll completely understand why he's the ruling class's fixer when they need a revolution conquered. So buy some stock in water. Take a good long look at your local farmer's market. Soon the skies will darken. Soon the crops will gray and only ash will be the harvest. They'll take EBT away from those it hits the hardest. And regardless of your talents, you'll be starving artists. Locusts lounge about the empty carts and gather in the thicket. Anywhere the dust is thickest. All the signs have blown away, and anyway, there's nothing left to picket. We unanimously voted to approve every one of Joe's decisions, because we were far too weak to speak a whisper of resistance, and some were too blinded by their bright orange nightmare to look into the distance, or look into the past and see that Joe's plan to feed us all means eating all our meals in prison. That's the truth of profit over plenty in a capitalist system. If the harvest ends up in your hands or rotting in the trash, only profit makes the difference. Only money will decide if they neglect your children. Because hunger kills, so corporations found a way to see that hunger makes a killing. And the truth is hard to swallow, but it's plenty filling. That's an abundance of scarcity.
Can we just point out again that Bill Gates owns more than 50% of the farmland in this country? That's a problem. That's a problem. Y'all, that shouldn't be a thing that happens. It's not good.
Yeah, he's buying up assets, tangible assets.
Yeah, BlackRock is buying up all the property. Bill Gates is buying up all the farmland. This is not doesn't lead to good places. It does not lead to good places. It really does not.
So
can you share my screen real quick? Since we touched on
my God,
Obama.
I saw that today. I saw that in Barnes and Noble. I was like, fuck you.
Yeah. So just in case anybody watching is interested, Renegades Born in the USA is a series of conversations between President Barack Obama. I like how they still call him president. And Bruce Springsteen about their lives, music, and enduring love of America, despite all the challenges.
Still has the final say over everything in this fucking country.
About their music. Since when is Obama a musician?
Fuck Obama. Oh, God. Dude's a scumbag of the highest order. I'm so tired of people pretending. He is such a scumbag. Seriously, walking into Flint like that, like you just talked about, and drinking that water in front of their faces. Fuck Obama.
Yeah, but he had Erykah Badu and Don Cheadle at his birthday party.
Oh, that's cool.
That's so
cool. Let's not go too hard on him, guys. That's cool. That's pretty. I don't know.
No.
So speaking of Obama, this piece is called "Late for the Hague."
Very late.
Born in the shadows of graves, dug for the victims of war or the bodies of negligent poverty, labeled as either essential or brave. We had to watch them lay old Lady Liberty down on the lathe, shave all her salient features away, because we like our women condemned, we like our women contained, we like our platitudes flaccid and vague, and we like to deify people objectively late for the Hague. We like our senators boneless, because we've only elected the spineless, who all lack backbone and possibly teeth because they don't bite back and they don't speak up. They resign like sheep into silence. I don't have much hope when the meek all inherit the planet because they fumbled the House and the Senate and handed the reins to the people they spent 4 years all proclaiming as baseless, corrupted upholders of bigotry, leeching our taxes like bandits. But all of our leaders are wearing that standard. All of them work for the global purveyor of violence, pollution, genocide, bias, fascism, child starvation through sanction, cultural cleansing, and propaganda. Black Mariah, White Miranda, the streets crescendo, the fascists answer. And any donation you give them is feeding the cancer, bloating their egos so they can come dangle the carrot, promise you $2,000 and hold it for ransom. Like we should fall all over ourselves when the squad tweets. Lick the squad's boots, kiss the squad's feet. They ask, what would the money we promised you months ago actually mean? What would a one-time check to pay part of your rent and allow you to eat for a week mean to you and your family of 3? Tell us you need it. Tell us you want it so bad. We can't hear you. Tell us how thankful you are for the squad because we're all that you have. Tell us how grateful you are that we watered a bill down to please the Republicans knowing their votes weren't needed to see that it passed. That's called unity. When your overlords can get along peacefully and agree on the most cost-effective way to starve American families to death, discreetly kill off the disabled, and slaughter people of color with impunity in broad daylight, that's what they mean by unity. And that's what they want us to be fucking thankful for. That's late for the Hague.
All of that
I
was so
like
very true.
I very much like the "We can't hear you."
Those tweets are
I
so
can't.
offensive.
It's so hard to
Oh,
write stuff that doesn't rhyme, and it feels so unnatural to do it. But I was like, what if I just kind of stop rhyming, and all of a sudden it just becomes that kind of sing-songy, just, it. In order to get those lines across, I needed to stop rhyming. I needed to just start talking directly and talking down to,
mhm.
and it was hard to do because when I start writing, I start rhyming. Like it's my brain. It's part of my OCD is that it feels wrong if a line is like a little half a syllable off from the rhythm I have for it. That's just
Yeah.
how I've
Yeah.
always written.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what you do really well with your rhymes is that you write them in a way that doesn't make the rhyming obvious. It's organic rhyming. It sounds like spoken speech as opposed to verse. And I think that that's
Thank you.
the best sort of rhyming writing. The poetry that rhymes, but you almost don't realize that it's rhyming because it's constructed as spoken language in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very conversational. It's very rhythmic. Like rhythmically,
Dude,
it's
can I just say there are so many things that Jesse has said about my writing that I wish I had like just queued up for like my daily affirmation needs. Because sometimes seriously, you've seriously it's so nice to hear your perspective on ideas I try to get across and concepts and stuff, because you get it, and it's so nice to hear when someone else gets it, because then you know that you're getting that across, and you don't know until someone tells you, and you consistently tell me, and I love you for it. Like, thank you so much.
somebody needs to get some
man.
clips made for Jesse's daily affirmation.
Right?
Seriously, I'm all for that. I don't know how to make clips.
This is
though.
my ego
I don't know how to
compilation.
do that shit. I don't know how to do that shit. I just just now
Jesse's
today figured
bloated
out how to get
ego
on the
mega
rock band.
mix.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. We need that.
I'm just-
Everybody should have that.
I'm just thinking of my voice in different cuts saying different things. It seems really, really weird.
So here's my thing. Ohio State, I love college football, you guys. And Ohio State has like the best hype video team. Like their video team is amazing. And I legitimately want a hype video made for me that they make, like, to like hype up my, like, Misty's going to the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like Misty against the world. Like, it'll be, I need that. I think everybody needs that. You know what I mean? Glory Jones is a great hype man if anybody needs one. She's so great. Every time we do a show
shout
together,
out
she's
to
like,
Glory,
"Wait,
because I hate
hype
that I missed her the other night. I had to bail last night because I was on Reefer
Yeah.
After Dark, which was a blast. But
yeah, I didn't get to watch that because Vigil.
I had my giant glass boot filled with margarita, and then tonight, right before we started here, I filled that with coffee, almost a whole pot of coffee, and just had my like giant glass coffee boot. My wife saw it. She was like, "Are you gonna start drinking out of that all the time?" I was like, "You bet your ass I am." I'm not gonna put it on a shelf when I'm not an idiot.
That's funny.
Okay, this
Just tell her this boot was made for drinking.
Oh goodness.
Oh man, this has one of my favorite lines, because I briefly kind of talked about me and writing this stuff, and I usually don't, but I feel like I got the point across pretty shortly, and I love this piece. This is called Lifelike Decay. The power balance shifted, and suddenly the CDC said we were free to scurry back to normalcy, and all the bans were lifted. All the masks were thrown into a dumpster full of body bags like we were out to sea, and had a captain always screaming, "Land," no matter how far out we drifted. So no matter how far down you kept your head, you would be plucked from out the crowd, and you'd be scanned and sifted. You'd be human contraband they smuggled off of private land to 20 years unlawfully detained to waste away beneath a federal prison diet plan. You'll accept a brand made of the bloodshed of your fellow man and think that you're still free because they let you pick the hand and let you dip it in. I used to think they looked at us like dividends. Now I think they see us more like fees, and they think feeding us amounts to breeding fleas, so our humanity is fading in their dissonance. If Trump was ever right, it's when he said we had no innocence. And incidentally, also when he cut the cost of insulin. We reached the Oval Office for a comment, And they emailed back a geosat photo of our office with a target on it reading, "Please confirm this is the site where you would like the special forces to arrive to try and beat out a denouncement of your insolence and mace you in the face each time you cry or try to choke out claims of innocence. Now, aren't you glad you voted blue to insulate your ignorance? Because when censorship was rushing past, you offered gas and asked if you could push the pedals. Suddenly, when all of the election dust has settled, you've been gassed and kettled. And only now you start to see there's very little difference, and what difference there is clearly not how you'd envisioned it. Like when Biden said he lied and that 100,000 immigrants were limited. And he kept a limit Trump had implemented that we said was un-American and hideous. And suddenly it's standard foreign policy, and Joe's equipped with all we need because he's so up to speed and so fastidious. And that's the line the news will try to sell, and you can tell they think we're really that oblivious. Because clearly we were really that oblivious. Clearly, we accepted lesser stimulus like idiots, like we think our requests to live with dignity should really all be leveled at our leaders in the form of something pleading, something poor, or something piteous. Like it's not enough they worked you to the floor, paying you a wage that spit directly in your face and through your pores directly to the source of your meridians. Until all of the valerian on what remains of earth could not return your cursed worth from something burnt into the dirt to something blooming and viridian. Only then you'll start to see there's very little difference, and the difference there is I warned you of for 90 minutes that I bled into the sonic till the every word stood onyx and obsidian in its intent and rigor fucking mortis and conviction. I delivered it with pops and hiss and honest spit and honest tears and honest smears of politicians who are honestly more evil than you'll ever find in all your fiction. And I honestly don't need your validation for my malediction. And I honestly could feed on all my hate until I'm spirited away at such a raw nutrition. Organic in display like it was something Tesla made with a solar photosynthesis array, a CIA plant that withstands brutal heat as well as temperatures of 45 beneath and does not wither till it carries out its final mission. Realistically, organically decayed among the graves of all who saw the vision I depicted. That waits around the corner like the single mom we just evicted. Who put her faith in Biden and was shocked to find him walking every promise back across the profit picket line till homeless shelter funds were tight, resources for stable spots to sleep at night were nowhere she could seem to find, which puzzles her since hers has been a nightmare widely shared and all too easily predicted. And only now she'll start to see there's very little difference, and the difference there is clearly not what she'd envisioned.
I feel like that was perhaps the bleakest song or the bleakest piece I've heard by you thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that
No.
is such an accurate portrait of the time we're living through. And it's funny that you say that you use the word evil in that song, because that's a word that I've resisted using for a long time.
It feels so tame. Yeah.
Well, it feels cliche and overused, and you know, Bush Jr. he pretty much bastardized the word, but the time we're living through now, especially what's being done with the so-called vaccines being given to children, experimenting on children, for example, that's evil shit right there.
Yep.
And that's a huge conversation to get into. But today I said that to my girlfriend. I said, it's some evil shit that's going on. And it's the first time I think I've used that word as an adult and have actually
meant it,
believed it. Yeah.
There really isn't another
Which is
word,
why I
though.
used it in that context. There's honestly more evil than you'll ever find in all your fiction. Like true, real, actual human fucking evil. Is people that can ignore that so much suffering on such a massive scale and the future because it makes their lives comfortable and easy and plush. It's unthinkable, you know? And it's funny that you said bleak, because a line in this next piece is, if you thought that was bleak, then grab your seats, I'm getting bleaker. So again, it's like what we've said in between these pieces had really led so well into the next piece. I can't even tell you. Which we've only got 3 left. This is called Open Heart. I took my heart out, put it in the trash. Looking back, I guess I should have just donated it for research. I grabbed a sweater, I was bleeding through my t-shirt. I took my phone out, gave the media a scroll, and saw a dozen pigs brutalize a man until he had a seizure. And then continue beating, because it's more than just a knee-jerk, it's an everyday procedure. Absolute power is the sickest teacher. Absolute power makes the crowd afraid of anything but heaping thanks upon the proud protectors of this fascist state, so they can't wait to praise their brave demeanor. They can't wait to cheer on all the officers who beat their neighbors bloody, because they're not the ones detained, they're the ones who got to watch it from the bleachers. If you thought that was bleak, then grab your seats, I'm getting bleaker. Down 1,000 leagues beneath the dreams of the beleaguered, beyond the wall of sleep into the clamor of the non-sleepers. And ever deeper till I'm barely hearing my own reverb, till I can't feel my own speaker. And I can't see a future where I'd ever change a lyric just to land a feature. And I've never been a man to go for standard features. I would love to wax my fingerprints and sand my features, smoother than the patch you slapped across your tax releases. Because we live in a world where you can watch a dozen cops assault a man until he's seizing, and you might feel the need to try to film it since there's no one else who sees it. And if they see your phone, then they'll be at your throat announcing how they're here to seize it. And if you don't comply with them, you know it's open season. And instinct tells you yell for help till you remind yourself that you'd be calling for the aid of the same brave policemen who are threatening to bash your teeth in. This land is your land. Now here's your easement. This is the law, and those upholding it are far from decent, but not too far from calling your free speech a form of treason. Not too far from calling in the dogs and watching gleefully as you get torn to pieces. You don't need to break the law for them to find a reason, because now the laws can change into whatever your arresting officer will deem needed. So pardon me if I'm a bit defeatist. But how is our compassion for the least of us so rarely ever focused on the poor but more concerned about a fetus? As you can see, you need not be a member of the ruling class elite to be elitist. As you can see, you needn't be concerned about our needs to come and lead us. I mean, look at how our leaders treat us. See how they don't even hide. They step out in the brightest light of day to say they plan to cheat us. And we would let them lock us in a cage, and when they send us on our way, we wouldn't say a word should they display the nerve to claim they freed us. We'd just thank them for protecting us and serving us and macing us and beating us and raping us and turning off the cam so there's no proof of what they take from us. So basically, we'd thank them for our freedoms. They don't give a shit about your rights. That's why they never read them. That's why all your senators are racing to delete them, knowing you'll observe the process helplessly and still do anything to please them. And knowing you'll eternally be thanking them for all your freedoms, even when you really can't perceive them. That's Open Heart. Yeah, boy, the last few here really, we downward spiraled pretty hard because the next few are fucking sad too. So, not that the whole thing isn't, but my, ooh.
No, but it does take like a very significant, like, it's like getting punched in the face a little bit, which I like. Yeah. I mean, I don't, but I do. You know what I mean?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yep. Everything in moderation.
But it is like, I like the baldness of it. You know, it's just like it's like there's no sugarcoating what we're up against. There's no sugarcoating it. It sucks.
Yeah.
The shit sucks.
Oh. Okay, this this is gonna be a hard one to not lose. I talk about my son in this one. This is called Less Than Understanding. I think that it takes something less than understanding to assist in lending rationale to politicians justifying obstinately blocking out our voices and turning from the needs we've been consistently demanding. And sometimes all it takes to knock us out when we're awake is just some positive strategic branding. Democracy is always greener where the drones are landing. Notwithstanding human damage, we've seen time and time again how little most Americans concern themselves with matters of the foreign and collateral. We've been told that war is something practical. So who'd have guessed that 500,000 deaths were not a tragedy, but really something tactical? But really, did you think you'd see an honest show of grief from those who only stomach peace in brief war room sabbaticals? Stocking up munitions like crusading Christians here to save this failing fascist system from some 20-something radicals. They'd have you believe the people fighting for your basic needs, your human rights and dignities are really Russian sleeper cells. They're so bent on putting us to sleep, they never sleep themselves. Anything to starve us out to guarantee that they can always feed themselves. Anyone to blame so they can dodge a little heat themselves. And anyone to burn in times of need so they can heat themselves. And most will live and die and never know a day of luxury and leisure like these bloated corpses decadently treat themselves. I'm for barricading them inside until they eat themselves. I'm for building walls around our leaders so they really have to meet themselves and see what they've become while they've been feeding on the hungry. And when we place the last brick blocking out the sun, we'll tell them, we don't fucking want you. You can keep yourselves. Consider it a blessing that we've left you in the dark so you can't see yourselves. Now begins a lifetime of fumbling in the black, looking for those bootstraps we said you'd need to free yourself. Obviously that was fake, but funny how you fall for all the tricks you used to teach yourself. Funny that the speech was so effective you had zero recollection that you wrote the fucking speech itself. Funny you've been pointing fingers saying immigrants are leeches, buddy, you're the fucking leech yourself. Maybe do us all a favor and delete yourself. If all that you can offer is our slow, neglectful slaughter, we don't need your help. You may not believe it, Mr. President, but we don't need a helping hand to kill ourselves. So what a stroke of luck for you, since you'll do all that Trump would do, that you can just perpetuate his hate and never have to write the bill yourself. And what a stroke of luck for us that you lack half a brain to write the bill yourself. Because the crime bill is bloody proof enough that any time you had your druthers, you outdid yourself. And you legalized abuse, the scars of which this country may not ever rid itself. But mark my words, if there should come a day the scars fade, America will quickly wash away the true dishonor that it did itself. 2008, I made a resolution. 2008, I made a resolution not to ever kid myself. 2016, I knew the utter fear of seeing what the world was turning into when I finally had a kid myself. And 2021, I sit here staring at my son, and when he offers up a hug, I'm just a frightened little kid myself. Shake it off. It's just another talk I'll have to give myself. It's just something less than understanding. It's the part of me I keep restrained, who's foaming at the brain and chewing through the metal banding, flying through my future fears and never cleared for landing. 2021, I'm sitting staring at my son, and I am suddenly informed by something more than understanding. The thought that if I pick this spot in history to take the side of silence and complicity, his life would be the more impacted. So no, I don't oppose the fascists because I smell a victory on the air. I oppose them because I cannot see them everywhere and offer no reaction. And I will tell my son that in the war I wield a verbal gun that shits on fascist satisfaction, and hope he knows his dad defends his future with his every passion.
That was really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, and last but not least, it's conviction.
Oh, okay. Can I, before we do that, because
Yeah,
what you're about to
let's
hear,
take a moment.
Yeah, because what you're about to hear, this is coming off of this week. Kit Clarenberg released a new article at the Gray Zone, where he was able to get documentation from Julian Assange, is like legal. I think they call her the legal authority, and it just basically shows that Australia has been very knowing and very complicit, which most of us have known and suspected for a long time. They tried to do like the whole denial thing where I'm sure he's being treated fine. Like it's, they don't want to take any ownership or responsibility. So they are just very good at trying to skirt around the issue and avoid dealing with it at all. He's an Australian fucking citizen and he's being tortured to death and you're not doing anything. You're not saying anything. Nothing's happening. But in that article, it also exposed some of the horrendous conditions that Julian Assange is being forced to live in. It talks about the fact that he was denied reading glasses for a long time. He's losing his mind, essentially. He's unable to think.
It's heartbreaking.
He paces his cell. He bangs his head on the wall. They're killing him. I don't know how else to say it to get people to understand. They're killing him. They're killing an innocent human being for exposing war crimes, and we're allowing that to continue by staying silent. Like we need people. He's going to die. He's going to die. And nobody should be okay with that. And I'm very frustrated right now. Like hearing conviction tonight is gonna like I'm pissed. I'm pissed. I'm sad. I'm like, it's depressing. It's depressing knowing what this dude is going through. You know, for once again being the best journalists we've ever seen.
Yep.
I mean, I don't even think it's close. You know what I mean?
Spotless record.
Spotless record. I mean, the thing he's broken more.
Julian Assange is the 1972 Miami Dolphins of journalists. I'm gonna say it. At me. I said it.
I'm glad you brought some levity to that because I was getting really depressed. But it really, I mean, he has 2 little kids, you guys, and he's dying. They're torturing him to death. He's like, we're going into winter again. Belmarsh is a gazillion years old. It doesn't have a proper heating system. He almost froze to death last year. He was using books to insulate his window.
Yeah.
They won't give him his warm clothes.
Yep.
He's treated terribly. They told him he had HIV. And let him go sit in a cell and stew with that for a little bit. And then like, oh, just kidding. It was a false positive. Fuck you and your false positive. That's psychological torture. That's exactly what that is. I don't think anybody should contend that was anything but that. They'll try to pretend like, oh, there are false positives. And I'm sure that there are, but let's not pretend that that's what that was about. They were fucking with him. That's what they do. And it's not okay. We need and we really just, sorry, I'm very preachy about it right now because we need people to speak the fuck up, please.
Yep.
Jesus.
But it should come as no surprise that Australia has not just been complicit in his torture all along, but has essentially.
But seeing it in black and white, like seeing the fact that they know and that they've had communications, they've had secret emails, they've discussed, like hey, just so you know, Julian Assange was arrested today, and I don't know if we're going to take any heat for it, but you know, we should have a plan. And fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Well, Australia and the UK are Five Eyes countries, but I'm saying it's not surprising in the context of look at what Australia is doing to its own citizens right now, out in the open.
Seriously,
it's essentially torturing them to death out in the open. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that they're basically a responsible party in Assange's torture, and if he dies in his death. So just because it's not a surprise doesn't make it any less shocking or any less atrocious.
My blood's been boiling all week. It's been a month, really. It's been like a month of like the Yahoo article and then this shit coming out. And I mean, it's all stuff that we knew, but or at least suspected. We didn't know, but we all suspected that this was the shit that was happening. These were the conditions he was being held in. Like we all knew that this, but again, seeing it in black and white, knowing it, like it's like legit. That's a whole other level. And it's like, it's been so long, 2.5 years, you guys, 2.5 years. He's been in Belmarsh on remand. Just because the United States is pissed off. That's the only reason he's there. That's it. They ruled against extradition January 4th. It's almost been a year. It's almost been a year since the no extradition ruling. And he's still in prison. He's just chilling there. Like they're just keeping it. And this is the process, is the punishment. And he could be on house arrest. He could be actively participating in his own defense. They're giving him laptops with the keys glued down. He can't even they're taking away his legal
that's literally what they talked about in their email when they were putting together their playbook was what if we just string him around in the legal system for the rest of his life and just torture him in prison?
That was in the Stratford leaks. That was in the Stratford files.
You talked about how cold it gets, and when I wrote Conviction, I wanted to talk about the temperature, and I got to rest assured the temperature in Belmarsh is, and I literally looked up the weather that day. It was 22 degrees, and so that's what the line rest assured the temperature in Belmarsh is, and I see 22, and that obviously created the rest of that piece.
Yeah. So as you guys listen to this song, keep all of those things in mind and let it piss you off, please. Okay.
And again, this, even though this is Conviction has been around for a while. I mean, the first time I came on with you guys was to read Conviction, and I'm just now today putting it out on a collection. But it seemed like the most fitting thing to close out on, because if there's one thing I want fresh in people's heads at the end of this all, It's the most important thing you can do to fight back about all the shit I've talked about, is to be able to keep our ability to discuss it and inform people and educate people. And that's journalism. That's the only good journalists we can trust, or have to be able to fucking do their jobs, or we're done. You know, our window is closing so quickly of being able to just speak freely to one another and seriously. And before people know it, it's gonna poof. So that's why it's so important to do this. This is Conviction, Winter in Belmarsh. If you thought you saw your freedom, it was truly a mirage. Freedom's locked a cell away from Julian Assange. Our First Amendment rights are by his side behind bars, and the next voices silenced will be ours. Rest assured, democracy is rotting in the dark. Rest assured, we vilified dissenters, pushed out black renters, and tore down their housing just to build a little urban park. I tell you, old America really knows how to leave its mark, how to blaze a trail and leave 100 scars. And rip your free speech out your throat, demonize the man who told you it was so, and leave him freezing in a cell in Belmarsh, perpetually awaiting extradition, thrown to the wolves of claustrophobia and malnutrition. And all that we can hope is that we catch Uncle Joe in a fleeting lucid moment of his flickering senile fascist mission. That maybe we could trick him into thinking Julian is just a sweet blonde middle school Christian, and she got mixed up with a few bad apples, slapped with some charges, and thrown into prison. Joe would set him free without a moment's hesitation under one condition, that he could sniff her hair before she goes back to school and he goes back to business. But if Joe's just had his shots, then we haven't got a chance of getting past his black and white vision. Getting past his gut reaction to appease all his donors' sick requests and shape policy and law around corporate mandated decisions. So really, all along, I think Julian was one man standing in a tempest with the fearlessness of true conviction. And if his is the only conviction we see after he shed a light on this country's most poisonous schemes all come to fruition, and we all collectively stare at the ground while he's tortured, we all collectively stare at the ground because we felt like our hands were too tied beyond signing petitions, while he is tortured to death for attempting to warn and enlighten admittedly not quite the brightest of citizens, then half of this country just won't take the time to uncover the truth, or they just don't mind, so they're quick to dismiss it and say it's a difficult position. Then we're back to the comfort of centrist delusion. Right back to sleep for the ignorant sheep who resisted themselves into one protracted contusion, twisting themselves into knots to correct all your stimulus check-based confusion, and wrapping their necks around their backs as they justify overflow migrant detention or fracking pollution. Then Kamala laughs, and the camera pans down to her shoes. And that footage is 90% of your 6 o'clock news, except for a feel-good story about a man who, at 95 years young, just made Employee of the Month at Whole Foods. And his $50 gift card means this month he'll afford his prescriptions and meals, and he won't have to choose. This is the machine that a man named Julian Assange threw his body on the gears of for you. So to cry out for his freedom is the least that we can do. Now best believe the feds will serve to muddy up the truth, but rest assured the temperature in Belmarsh is an icy 22, and Julian is shivering in a solitary room without a view. And rest assured Obama loves a whistleblower just about as much as he loves weddings where he doesn't get to detonate the groom. Rest assured Obama bought the plot where all our First Amendment rights are gonna rot and demanded that they carve his smiling likeness on the tomb. So when you come to pay respects to your free speech rights, and a somber feeling hits you and you look up to the sky, the answer will be staring you right in the eyes to the questions of why and of who. So if you thought you saw your freedom, then they wanted you to. Human rights are mutable, and Julian is proof. Our First Amendment rights are stuck in solitary too, and the next voice silent might be you. And there you have it, folks.
Yeah.
10,000 words coming of spring.
Those are good words, Jesse.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's
one of them is the word pudding. Fun fact. Maybe the only fun word in the whole thing is the word
I like
pudding
it.
one time.
Pudding is good.
It's important to talk about the things you love.
Yeah.
It's
That's
been
true.
said many times, but it's worth repeating that this is also happening to Assange because the mainstream media and a lot of independent media, by and large, refuse to report on him. They act
Yeah.
as if he doesn't exist, and they're participating in his erasure
Yep.
and the crimes being perpetrated against him.
Exactly.
And so anybody out there who relies on mainstream media or watches mainstream media and hates it and asks why they should care about Assange, because mainstream media is the way it is because people like Julian Assange are persecuted, and
Yeah.
essentially
The fact that you don't see anything about him is reason that should be enough of a red flag for people that
Right?
what he's going through,
Y'all.
for not committing any
It's a
crimes.
historic
And
court case on press freedom, and you
Yep.
won't hear a word of it on mainstream media.
Yep.
And most independent networks or channels are avoiding it too. Every once in a
Yep.
while, you'll see them poke their head up and like do a quick 8-minute video, and then they duck back down for 6 months and they don't talk about it again. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
So if what he did is a crime, why isn't the Bezos Times in Belmarsh too for using WikiLeaks
Exactly.
material in their reporting?
Yep.
Same with the New York
New York
Times.
Times, Der Spiegel,
Exactly.
Le Monde,
Yep.
journalists across the globe, publishers across the globe should be in prison too, not just Julian Assange. And here's the thing: the actual criminals that he exposed have never seen the inside of a courtroom. Not one time. Not one of them. Not a single person who committed a war crime, ordered a war crime, planned a war crime, knew about a war crime. Not one person has seen the inside of a courtroom. Julian Assange has been in Belmarsh for 2.5 fucking years, dying. Like, and we're okay with that? We're okay with war criminals getting book deals? Yeah. War criminals are getting book deals. They're selling books. Like George Bush is going on talk shows and talking about his stupid ass paintings. He's a fucking war criminal. And Julian Assange is being tortured to death. Why is anybody okay with that scenario? It's weird to me.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking pissed off. Like the last month, seriously, I'm pissed off. Like they have me ready to throw down. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready to go Hulk smash Belmarsh and drag him out my damn self. You know? I'm fired the fuck up. It's so gross what's happening to him. Just the number of human rights abuses, the fact that they were spying on him in the Ecuadorian embassy. There were microphones in the bathroom. He couldn't even have conversations with his legal team. They were stealing their electronic devices and cloning them, and all of his legal paperwork was being copied. All of his medical stuff was being spied upon. Like this case should have never been brought, but it should have been thrown out and set on fire multiple times due to the number of just absolute bullshit that's happening. I mean, human rights abuse after human rights abuse. It's none of this stuff has any legal merit whatsoever. They have no case. The case that they had completely imploded over the past 6 months. Siggy Thorderson is a giant fucking liar. Not only that, he's a convicted pedophile, a career criminal, and a diagnosed sociopath. And that was what their their case was hinging on. Get the fuck out of here. And he's still in prison. Sorry. I'm sorry, you guys.
Never apologize. Don't apologize.
I'm telling you, the past 6 months has got me fired the fuck up. I'm so sick of this shit. Like they were going to kidnap him or kill him. They were like talking about like shootouts in the streets of London. We're going to shoot out the tires of a Russian airplane that's like spiriting away Julian Assange to Moscow. Like, shut the fuck up. Are you joking me? Like, they're a joke. And it's Mike Pompeo's the satanic blob of jello that he's a narcissist. And Julian Assange exposed him by releasing Vault 7, which is super courageous to do. First of all, if you're Julian Assange, you're 7 years into illegal and arbitrary detention in the first place. You know you're like public enemy number one of the deep state, of the largest empire the world has ever seen, and you publish Vault 7? Like, that's balls, dude. I don't care if that's not politically correct to say. It's fucking balls. Like, that is ginormous amounts of courage. And that's the largest CIA leak in history. And that's why he got arrested. That's why they're prosecuting him. That's why they're going after him, because Mike Pompeo got embarrassed because the CIA leak, Vault 7, came out from WikiLeaks, and that on his watch. And it pissed him off. And so he threw a little man tantrum and went after Julian Assange. And only his man tantrum is going to cause an innocent person to die. And psychopaths.
And for everybody out there who is still under the delusion that WikiLeaks colluded with Russia to hijack the 2016
Oh.
election. Mike Pompeo in 2017 designated WikiLeaks a non-state hostile actor. Non-state, meaning that the head of the CIA said WikiLeaks is a non-state organization, has no affiliation with any state, and that means Russia. So there goes your delusion.
There's no evidence whatsoever that affiliates Julian Assange with Russia in any way. They've admitted to that multiple times. Mueller admitted it in his report. The Senate Intelligence Report has the same thing in it. They've admitted it in multiple courtrooms across several different countries. Like, there was never any collusion between Julian Assange and the Russian government or the Trump campaign. There was none. There was none. There was none. All of the things that they had have now been proven to have been fabricated. The Paul Manafort story in The Guardian by Luke Harding in his sandy-colored chinos, it's a fabrication. He wrote a whole ass article about 3 visits that happened in the Ecuadorian embassy, which at the time was the most surveilled building on planet Earth. On planet Earth, like, everybody within like a quarter mile was like a CIA agent or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we know this now. Like, we know that that's, and you're telling me that the Paul Manafort managed to get into the Ecuadorian embassy without ever signing in or getting caught on camera? Get the fuck out of here. That's
and
ridiculous.
That piece is still up.
It's still up on The Guardian. It's still up. Like, it's a real fucking thing. Luke Harding is a hack. He's a piece of shit propagandist. And that was incredibly damaging. It came out at a really terrible time for Julian Assange intentionally. That was the whole point. They wanted to manufacture consent for arresting Julian Assange. And that's exactly what Luke Harding took part in. And fuck him for doing it. Sorry, I am really preachy tonight.
Luke Harding is basically the British iteration of Michael Isikoff.
Yeah, fuck him. Fuck him.
Luke Harding is Isikoff on the other side of the pond.
Yeah, he's a joke of a human being. You're disgusting. You have completely been complicit in the torture of a journalist, the destruction of free speech and press freedom and accountability in government. You're helping with that. Good job, dude. You must feel really super great about yourself. Really killing it. Ugh. Such a disgusting scumbag. I'm sorry. I am just really pissed off about it lately. Like, there was a time where I felt like really, it's depressing. I'm tired of having to like deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really depressing having to hear this shit and knowing what Julian Assange is exposed, and nobody's ever going to be held accountable for that shit.
Yeah.
Rape, torture, war crimes, murder, corruption of the highest order for profit. And nobody's ever going to be held accountable for that. The only person who will ever be held accountable for that is Julian Assange. The fuck?
It looks
Sophie
that way
said she
now.
can't wait. She can't wait for the next Jesse Jett album. Me too. We just heard this one and I'm already ready for the next one. Real talk.
And Sophie, again, thank you. Seriously, that cover, I like.
Oh, that's the Sophie?
That's Sophie. Yeah.
Nailed it.
That's album cover Sophie, right?
Nailed it.
I know.
Nailed it. So good. All right. Sorry to end on such a depressing, ranty note, you guys. I am. You guys know how I am, though. And people who have been watching the vigil will know I've been particularly fired up the last few weeks.
And this week, especially, like, I've been so pumped for this. And then, obviously, like, Twitter has just been consuming itself. And
yes, again.
Everyone's been at such a, like, maximum burnout, which I absolutely get. And I was like, I kind of hate that all of a sudden, I feel like an awful lot of people, the last thing they wanted to do is be on Twitter tonight or hear any of what I'm going to talk about. But there's also taking a break, and there's making sure that you don't get complacent and let it just defeat you. And I was like, as much as it might not feel like the best time, maybe it is the best time, like the absolute best time that I can put this out and push this. And I'm going to be obnoxious about it. Like, I usually don't like to try to put stuff out too much, but I like this. I stand by this record so much, and everything I said in this, I feel like I finally, like, I was just in another place when I was writing it, and I could put it all together. I'm like, I need to get this out. Like, I might cough up a little bit of money and do a promoted tweet, for fuck's sake. I might get weird with it. Like, I've spent the last couple years saying a polite no thank you to people that message you and are like, hey, $5 and I'll put you on some Spotify playlists. But if anyone listening to this does a Spotify spoken word playlist, let's talk. Because you know what? I want to get these pieces out. I would absolutely like to make people listen to this stuff who otherwise wouldn't. And that's part of why I did spoken word instead of another record, because I didn't want there to be anything else that could muddy the water. They're like, oh, he's rapping, or he sounds like the guy who does Hamilton, or whatever the fuck. Like, I wanted to just let the writing speak for itself. And that's why I didn't put any ambient noise or any sound effects. It's just me getting upset in my car. Fun little tidbit. I'm sure I'm not the only one that experiences like random throat sounds. Sometimes after you take a drink, where all of a sudden there's just some weird drainage noise that happens. Whoa! There is one of those that made it onto this album at the beginning of Open Heart. Right when I say I took my heart out, put it in the trash, you hear sound, and it's my throat. And I didn't laugh, and I kept it. And I was like, I'm not even gonna try to take that out. I'm gonna leave it right there. So the studious observer will listen and get to hear what I.
It's funny that you're calling yourself out. Nobody would
an RTS random throat sound. Made its way on, and I kept it. So that's my only feature on this album is my weird throat sound.
So that's on
funny.
Open Heart.
Oh, but yeah, the beginning, first line.
Now
of Open
everybody's
Heart,
gonna go listen.
Yeah, I hope so. There needs to be
right
one
now.
fun moment. It's again right after a couple of the heaviest pieces, so all of a sudden, like, yeah, right before we do the getting bleaker, there's the fun Open Heart sound.
You might have to change. You might have to change that title to "Down the Wrong Pipe."
Yeah, right.
Oh shit.
This piece is called Deep Throat.
Yeah.
Oh, I told someone
Oh.
on Twitter today that he's just supposed to lick the boot, not deep throat it. Steve says that, and it makes me laugh. So yeah. Then I'm gonna smack you in the face with a mackerel. Steve Poikonen has the best like little one-liners. I don't know where the mackerel came from, but
thank you guys so much for letting me come do this whole thing.
yeah, are you kidding?
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a second episode of Bitch. Like I feel lighter, you know. And like this week, I needed like multiple bitches.
Yeah,
I needed multiple bitches. Yep. I did. I really did. Like I went off during the vigil last night. I didn't mean to. I was trying to not, but I couldn't help it. I had shit to say. I still have shit to say, but I'm trying to trying to let everybody be in their space right now. You know what I mean? Because I get it. But get your heads together, people.
Yeah.
Please. Lordy. All right. Well, thanks for coming, dude. I appreciate you. I appreciate your work. I'm so pumped that this is out now. You guys can get this on Bandcamp. It's on Spotify if you want to go stream it there. If you purchase it through Bandcamp though. If you're gonna try to support,
that's the place.
Financially, that's the place. That is the place. Fuck Spotify. Really, they treat their artists like shit. So fuck Spotify. Bandcamp does better, and Bandcamp Friday is even bestest.
For sure.
Yeah. What is it? The first Friday? Is it the first Friday?
Might be.
I'm second guessing myself.
I'll have to check, but.
I always just know because they tweeted out.
Regularly occurring Fridays. I can say that with confidence.
Yes.
Some Fridays and not others.
We're very specific about this.
I can definitely tell you it's on a Friday.
It's definitely Friday. Bandcamp Friday. I don't know how often it is, but it is regularly.
Regularly Friday. Sorry.
I'm too high for this shit. But it is on Fridays, and you should definitely take advantage of that because then all of the money goes to the artist. Bandcamp doesn't take, or they don't take anything on Bandcamp.
They don't take anything on Bandcamp Fridays, but the rest of the time their fee is mild, and it's
minimal. Yeah.
Again, the easiest way to get direct contribution to an artist if you want to support them. That's the way to do it. That said. They also give you download codes to give people. And if anyone wants a copy and doesn't have the cash to put on it, please just message me and I'll give you a download. Like it's always important to me more so that I get the stuff heard. And if you want a copy, please just let me know.
Sophie said all Fridays are equals, but some are more equal than others. True.
Hey, all Fridays matter.
Bandcamp Fridays. Right. You're gonna get shit for that, I bet.
All Fridays matter.
All Fridays do matter. Fridays are pretty dope. Let's be real. I mean, not in my world.
I once saw someone who had an "All Dogs Matter" sticker, and then there was a Buttigieg 2024. I'd never seen one of those in the wild. I was like, oh my god, this person's real.
We are 100% going to get gaslight for the cop and boy wonder soup. That is coming. Coming.
Oh god, I just swallowed that wrong.
That would have been dope if they had a third sticker that said "All dogs go to heaven."
Oh, I love that movie. I'm not even lying. I love that movie.
Oh,
I
man.
love that movie. I used to make my brother watch that movie all the time when we were little. All the time. I've seen that movie like 100 times probably. It's a great movie. It makes me sad though, honestly. It's a very sad movie.
I forget
Yeah.
the plot line of that one.
The dog dies, and then it's like he's trying to find his way to heaven or whatever because he's kind of, bad dog, did bad things. Then he finds this little girl, I remember the
So
little girl, the black hair.
And then you cry.
It's a morality tale.
And then you cry.
Mhm.
It is a morality tale. Yeah.
It's a fable.
But it's a very good movie. It makes me sad. And I watched it
a
way
very
too many
good
times
movie
when I
that
was
will
growing
gut
up.
you like a fish.
Yeah. It's like Fern Gully. Fern Gully is ridiculously sad,
Mhm.
you guys. God damn it. Oh. That's why we're all traumatized. Our like the 80s
For sure.
and 90s kids, like our movies were
Bambi ruined
legit
me.
serious.
Bambi absolutely
Bambi-
fucking ruined me.
Oh my God.
The Fox and the
Oh.
Hound. Oh my God. Like
Yeah.
just
Well, I remember
Brutal.
trauma.
I remember in
Trauma.
4th grade, the teacher saying this is when Pearl Jam's Jeremy came out, and
Mhm.
and the teacher said, "Don't watch the video for that song because it's about a kid who commits a school shooting." And then at the same time, we're reading this. I guess you'd call it a young adult novel where the red fern grows, and we get to this
Yeah.
part where the kid falls on an axe and impales himself, and it's talking about blood coming out of his mouth, and it was just
Jeez.
even at that age, it struck me as hypocritical.
Yeah.
And also, I had already seen the video many times at that point, but after the teacher said that, I was like, now I'm really going to watch the video because there must be
For
something
sure. It's a great
about
video.
it.
Great song.
From
great
a
video.
time
And-
a time where a school shooting was a rare enough occurrence that it warranted a song,
Mhm.
that, like a mainstream band speaking out about it. It's like, whoa, what the fuck is this? This can't be a normal thing. And now it's just like,
Yeah, and it
you
It's
know,
like every day.
looking-
Like
which
whatever.
school shooting is this one about?
Yeah,
I
like
don't know.
honestly, like my husband asked me, like and I knew it was bad when one time I told my husband that there was a school shooting, and he was like, "How bad is it?" And I was like, 4 so far, and he was like, "Oh, that's not
Mhm.
too bad." And I was like, "Oh God, we're really
Yeah.
far gone.
We're really there. Yep.
We're really far gone." When we
For
were like,
sure.
"Oh, only 4? That's not so bad." That's
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, as
I'll-
Americans, we've been conditioned to go, well, it could be worse. It could tell them, hey,
Yeah.
that's not, and we're just accepting crumbs, accepting violence, and just being like, it could always be worse. At least we're not,
And
we're
yeah,
really good
yeah.
at that for a reason, because that's what we've been made to do.
especially when you see at least initial reports that say 3 people reported injured, and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. They're just injured.
I know
Meanwhile,
you're like
the-
conditioned to. Oh,
Meanwhile, their
God.
guts are hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. Injured still means taking a bullet, and a bullet is a fucking violent thing going through your body. It's yeah.
Brutal.
And we're very desensitized.
We really are. I knew it was bad then. Like I knew when that conversation happened, I was like, we're pretty far gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's I recognize myself doing that a lot. So
Mhm.
I don't
I would
think
imagine if you just asked
anybody's-
someone, did you hear about that school shooing? They would say, which one?
Which one?
Yeah.
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 There's hundreds.
Specify.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I get them confused. I'm like, was that the one
Yeah.
where the 9 died? Or is that, like,
Mhm.
I can't remember. I can't keep them all straight. I have no idea. Like all the names, I have no idea. Like,
Exactly.
there's the big ones that everybody knows, like Aurora and Newtown and all that stuff. But then, they're so freaking
so
many.
many.
It doesn't even make a blip on the radar anymore. Like there'll be like
Yep.
a mass shooting somewhere where like 4 or 5 people die. And you might see like a glimpse
It's
of it.
not
on Twitter.
newsworthy at that point.
It's not even
Exactly.
news anymore.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, we're in such a
Well,
bad spot. It's so depressing. We're so depressing.
I was listening. I was watching this interview maybe a month ago with this philosopher named John Zerzan, and he commented on how once, for example, like the initial lockdown period ended, at least in this country, how when people got back out, almost immediately school shootings or shootings
Started
in public
happening
places
again.
started up again. Like
Yep.
it's just
We've been kept inside a long time, man.
it's like a disease.
It is.
We're getting back to normal,
That
Here we are. Is that normal,
back to
everybody, when it's so
normal.
fucking bad?
Yeah. Normal sucked. Like, let's not go back to normal.
Mhm.
Like, we don't need a great reset, but let's fucking change some shit, you know?
Yeah,
Like, I don't know what it's gonna take. I honestly, I
know.
just don't know. What is it gonna take? Like, you can't even get $15 an hour. You can't get healthcare
I
in the
know.
middle of a pandemic, and y'all are just walking around like zombies, pretending like that's okay.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
And that's again, like when I did some of these pieces for that open mic crowd, I'd like to think maybe I haven't given my stuff enough credit for its accessibility. Maybe it's a little bit more approachable than I thought for the, the average bear. But again, people were receptive and angry, and that again is nice to at least get some hope from that. That I do feel like, the more you talk to
It's
people, like when
there.
anytime I've played there, I've kind of started with a bit of a disclaimer that I am not here to represent any political party and certainly not a politician. I'm just here to tell you that you deserve better and there's no reason you shouldn't have it. And that I feel like is, if there's a good takeaway, that's it for me. There's no reason we can afford it and we choose not to. And it's not a little bit of people that are affected. It's the vast majority of people that are just left out to dry. And the most important thing is that, like, on some level, you can get everyone to agree that we're being mistreated, and that's the first step. Is if we all agree on that, then we go from there, then it's what do we do after that. But it's a lot easier to get people to agree that things are really fucked up and need to change, and that we're all being given the short end of the stick than it was before.
Yes. Listen, we're gonna have our
It's a shame that
disagreements.
it's taken this much to get
I
there.
know, I know. And we're gonna have our disagreements. Like, we don't all agree on where we need to go or how we're gonna get there. But we need to first deal with the system that's designed to kill all of us. We have to do that first. And then we can argue.
People were more receptive, and it gave me hope that I can start doing this and springing this on people and having those conversations, and that people are receptive and waking up, and that's our only way out.
I think you're right too. It is there. It's like bubbling underneath the surface. You can feel it. You can feel it.
Yep.
We just need people to get fed the
Someone mentioned the anti-work Reddit, where people have the boss conversations that has millions of members and grows like hugely. And there are really serious conversations about theory and practical revolution and mutual aid and the shit that we need to be talking about. And it just shows that people know, people are getting it finally. So,
well, Nico House was just out in Nebraska covering the worker strikes at Kellogg.
Oh yeah.
And
Nico!
he said on Max Blumenthal's show Foreign Agents that a lot of the strike has been led by the older workers in solidarity with the younger workers. So they have like legacy workers, the guys who've been there, the men, women who've been there for a long time, and then what they call transitional workers who've been there for a much shorter period of time. And the older workers have been striking in solidarity with the transitional workers because they understand what kind of position they're in financially, with their families, with just surviving. And
that's how we do it.
And I don't know if that would have gone down the same way several years ago. I think a lot of workers too are starting to realize that the unions do not represent them, do not have their best interests in mind, and are conducting and the workers are not necessarily playing by the union's rules anymore with their strikes, and that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
And that's just one of many examples of how ordinary people are not just seeing through the bullshit now, but are fed up with it and acting on being fed up with it.
Yep.
And I hope it keeps snowballing. It is a beautiful thing.
I know.
Okay, we're gonna let you go because it's been a long night.
All right.
So everybody check out the album on Bandcamp and on Spotify if you must. You can follow Jesse on Twitter at Jesse_Jett. And I don't think we have anything. Make some noise about Julian Assange, please and thank you. Please and thank you. I mean, if you want to call some politicians, do that. If you want to tweet at some people, do that. If you want to talk to your neighbor, that'd be even better. But we need help. We do. He's gonna die. That would be bad. Let's not have that. Okay.
And on Tuesday, we're going to be doing another live stream. It's going to be a big panel,
like a power
show.
panel.
And we're going to be talking a lot about pushing back against the COVID-19 justified totalitarianism that is in full force in Austria now. It's coming to Germany, the Czech Republic, and it's going to be here soon if we don't speak up about it. So we're going to have Max Blumenthal on. We're going to have Dr. Pierce Robinson. We're going to have Nick Hudson from Panda. Whitney Webb is going to be joining us. Corey Morningstar. And
Last American
Ryan
Vagabond.
Christian. And also one more person, Rick Munn he lives in Northern Ireland. He's done a lot of good speaking out against what's happening. And in Northern Ireland, they basically just imposed nearly full-on medical apartheid. So we're going to be getting a lot of voices. It's going to be a big day. Yeah, we're going to be getting a lot of voices speaking out and against what we're seeing and what is already starting to happen here. We're seeing it in New York. We're seeing it in San Francisco, in LA. So if you are keen for that fight, which I hope you are, then please join us on Tuesday. That's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and it'll be live on Rockfin and YouTube.
Because now I can Rockfin.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Thank you guys again. Seriously.
Fun.
Thanks
everybody in the chat. We love you. Thanks for being here, hanging out with us. We appreciate you, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Bye, everybody.
All right.
Peace.